Chapter 1, Getting Rich with a Formula System. Xiao Fan. What the are you waiting for? Go on. What day? 3-1 was countered. Xiao Fan, you will not play I'm sorry, my phone screen seems to be broken. Mingjiang Province, Juku City, Mingshan University, North 6504. The three roommates were holding their cell phones and playing a game. Their complexion was incomparably angry and they were spitting funfang at Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan, however, was shocked by the scene in front of him. The game screen of the cell phone screen suddenly disappeared, and a scene that looked like a VR projection was presented. The Get Rich with a Plan system is binding. Ding! The binding is successful. Please read the usage in detail before use and check the consent option below. System? Xiao Fan stared at the interface in front of him that only had the consent option and could not help but fall into deep thought. Something that sounded so powerful would even use this kind of exemption? As a cautious college student who often skipped classes but had never been caught by a teacher, Xiao Fan naturally wouldn't easily bind to any system. He was deeply confused about this, and even felt that he was hallucinating. However, when he read the following instructions for use, he had to say that for a moment. He was on top of it. Ding! The host has agreed. All system functions are open. System for getting rich with a plan. Remaining disposable funds, 40,000. Net profit conversion ratio, TBD. Loss conversion ratio, TBD. Personal property, 154. Xiao Fan looked at the data in that last column with a despondent expression. Poverty is always with me. However, in the next moment, this wiping of his feelings turned into a wave of ecstasy. It's done. This system was real. It's been issued. Xiao Fan hammered his chest in excitement, straight away startling his three roommates. Returned? What's wrong with you? Ignoring them, Xiao Fan once again flipped through the usage instructions in detail, finally figuring out the purpose of this system. According to the system usage instructions, simply put, this system will issue system funds for the host to use to conduct business activities. After a certain period of time, the system will settle the profit and loss according to a certain percentage, and the amount received can be freely disposed of by the host. It can be said that this system is super conscientious, giving startup capital and also being able to share the money, compared to those who only know to give the host to send out tasks, cannot complete the unscrupulous product is not moving is dead too much better. Of course, this system wasn't without limitations. Can't squander, can't directly withdraw system funds as personal assets, and can't engage in illegal activities. These Xiao Fan didn't really care. A normal person, with something so powerful, who still relies on illegal money-making opening a company towards getting rich, doesn't it smell good? Quickly, the next step, all skipped, generate net profit, loss conversion ratio. Xiao Fan's eyes were filled with anticipation. Ding, is generating, for the host, generation complete. Host net profit conversion ratio, 100-1. Loss conversion ratio, 1/1. The screen was fixed on the conversion ratio and Xiao Fan could not help but raise his eyebrows slightly. This ratio, I make money. The net profit has to be reduced by 99% before I can give it to me. Lose money, lose as much as I make. Hiss, terrifying as hell. The corners of Xiao Fan's mouth were grinning. A wave of pride was born. The hand luck was too good. This kind of ratio is simply a perfect fit for him. An ordinary college student, starting a business to make money won't. Losing money still won't? Don't be too simple. The last step, Xiao Fan named the company Generous Business. After all, we are doing business at a loss. Is not it generous? Host, Xiao Fan. Remaining disposable capital, 40,000. Net profit conversion ratio, 100-1. Loss conversion ratio, 1/1. Next settlement, 10 days later. Personal assets, 154. Below the settlement time, there is a row of small words, 1 week before the settlement. There are products that have not yet been released. Then the settlement will be delayed for an indeterminate period of time. This is also understandable. Without this rule, Xiao Fan will be able to drill a big hole 1 day before the settlement date, and then spend all the system funds to realize all the conversions. It doesn't matter. Losing money is just, with my years of experience of being cut leaks, making money is insulated from me. Xiao Fan is confident. Anyway, he is the boss. In case he really made something, he will operate in the dark, and bring it to the wrong side, and it will be a success. There are only 10 days, but it's time to hurry up, in case you don't lose all your money. It will be difficult. Open the notebook. While collecting information, while thinking, which industry to choose. 40,000 yuan. Must all lose all. Soon, an afternoon passed. Xiao Fan casually ate a bowl of noodles, and when he turned his head to see the thick, worn history specialty textbook on the table, his eyes couldn't help but light up. Nowadays, with the rise of short videos, hand games, and online literature, who still reads history books? especially the kind of last-century biased academic, thick and worn, daunting tool books. The more he thought about it, the more excited he got. Xiao Fan seemed to see the image of their whole class shaking in their boots when the professor was teaching. No one would buy this kind of stuff. Sign up for an online store that specializes in selling this kind of stuff. The online store is as vast as a sea of smoke. Without promotion, surely no one will notice this small store. Even if you notice, see what is being sold here is this kind of outrageous thing. Surely you won't buy it. You'll just turn it off and give it a bad review. The more Xiao Fan thought about it, the more excited he became, only to feel that the 40,000 yuan was already in his pocket, just short of tying a buckle. A history student, and the book dealt with so many years, will be plucked out of no one loves to read the book. That is not simple. First pluck books to sell, after the set of money, and then cool to the sky. Xiao Fan felt that his life path had been paved with gold. Is really gold. Just think of it and do it. After living a small half-life, Xiao Fan had such a clear goal in life as well as motivation for the first time. Defeat. Don't you want to hurry? He directly opened the Tao Tao official website. Pay 3,000 deposit. Open the online store, named Generous Management Library, and labeled below New Store Opening. New within a week. The words, Open Online Store. We are serious. Then, he posted a book collection advertisement on Idle Cat. Vigorously collect worn out, missing pages of the last century old books. Affordable. Fair and square. Unlimited. Intended price, $20 a book. He was prepared to hang 100 a book, but the system gave a timely warning, stating that the violation would lead to unbinding the system. Xiao Fan instantly wimped out and finally gave in 100 times and hung $20. After doing this, he took stock of what he should do tomorrow and slept peacefully. In his dream, he became the richest man in Juku City. The next morning, Xiao Fan opened his eyes and only felt refreshed. It was 10 o'clock. Without washing up, he directly took out his cell phone and dialed towards the largest local New China bookstore customer service hotline. Hello, how can I help you? The voice was sweet. It was a sister. Xiao Fan couldn't help but straighten his body for a few minutes, gripping his cell phone tightly, his eyes blossoming with light while his face was serious. Do you have books here? The kind that no one reads. Customer service sister. Seemingly sensing the opposite side's emotions on the verge of collapse, Xiao Fan hurriedly explained. I'm a shopkeeper who collects old and ancient books, and I want to ask if you have any channels to buy books from the last century. It must be thick books, worn and old, preferably with missing pages. Chapter 2 I want it all. The sweet-voiced customer service sister froze for a moment before responding with difficulty. You wait a moment, I will give you the phone number of the New China Bookstore Transit Center in Juku City, and they should be able to respond to your needs. Okay, thanks a lot. The corner of Xiao Fan's mouth outlined a smile, his eyes incomparably satisfied. We can directly contact the downtown headquarters. We are a big boss. Xiao Fan did not wait and directly dialed the phone. It was answered in seconds. So, the same request was repeated again. Xiao Fan's heart was clenched, afraid that the opposite party would say, how can I have that kind of book in my Xinjiang bookstore? Fortunately, this kind of worry did not become reality. Although the phone on the other end of this kind of request is a little puzzled, but still accounted for, there is, but generally speaking, this kind of book we will unify the destruction of the extraction of materials recycling. You come to our place tomorrow morning and talk to the manager. Hanging up the phone, Xiao Fan was incomparably satisfied. There is a drama. It works. Just wait for tomorrow to buy a large number of books, on the shelves, and then all lose in the hands. You can lie down and count the money. With a big stone settled in his heart, he opened his cell phone again and looked at his request for purchase of worn-out ancient books page. Drop. Brother, you see this kind of cannot? This is my collection. 21 books is too cheap. 30, 35 it, sell it to you. I've been looking at the treasure for a long time. Xiao Fan was happy and clicked on the picture sent from the opposite side to take a look at it. Then his face was filled with black lines. The picture was beautiful, naked and slender, bumpy and undulating. It was indeed a good thing worth treasuring. The edges and corners of this book were turned over so much that they were creased and missing. Brother, I collect history books. Also, pay attention to your body. Don't be too tired, Xiao Fan casually replied, and then looked at the following several messages, and found that they were all similar to the above ancient drawings. The corner of his mouth could not help but tremble slightly. There wasn't a single proper book. So, after a little thought, he deleted the acquisition post. Too unreliable. This kind of book, can you buy it back and put it on the shelves? Luckily, we didn't put our hopes into this online request for purchase in the first place. We are a big customer. Physical acquisition is efficient. A small setback did not affect Xiao Fan mood, only waiting for tomorrow morning to go to the manager of the bookstore with the new in the morning to talk about it. Looking at the time, only 1 o'clock. There is nothing to do. Xiao Fan intends to take a nap. but was straight into the Zhang Yang called. Brother Fan? Still sleeping? I have a class this afternoon. What? Xiao Fan stared wide-eyed at the little fat man with a righteous face, full of shock. You kid has been a truant elite for several years. What kind of nerve is this to go to class today? Zhang Yang obviously also read the meaning of Xiao Fan's gaze, but not the eyes shine. You do not know. Our courtyard, a new modern history teacher, only 25, youthful and beautiful young woman. Old Bing is on maternity leave. People come to substitute classes. Why don't we go to support the scene? Zhang Yang waved his hand in anticipation. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm going to grab a front row seat and ask for a FMS, he said. He walked out of the door. Xiao Fan looked at the back of his departure, struggled for a long time, and ultimately chose to continue to nap. Look at the beautiful teacher. Not in a hurry. After drifting off to sleep and waking up, it was already more than 3 o'clock, and after eating a bowl of instant noodles, he saw his roommate coming back. Brother Fan, you really lost out if you didn't go. Zhang Yang smiled smugly. Big beauty. No boyfriend yet. Nice voice again. Talk thief interesting. She's also a up master. With 100,000 fans. Hearing the last, Xiao Fan came to be a bit interested. A teacher with 100,000 fans? What is the ID called? Xiao Fan asked while opening his computer. Wanting to search a bit, there is a post popping up that it is called Otherworldly Little Flower. Snap. After typing down this ID, a sweet-looking girl with a ponytail who looked very energetic really appeared. It looked like she was just in her early 20s. Is this it? He was a little unsure. Zhang Yang looked over, and then nodded his head repeatedly. Yes, this is the one. As a result, a dormitory of people started browsing the vlog of the beautiful teacher together, letting out a demented laugh every now and then. Mingshan University faculty and staff dormitory. Single room. The room was not big, and the overall pink color tone made it look cute. There were also a few pairs of white stockings by the bed. Hua Orange lay on the bed with her small white feet crossed, her red lips pouting as her hands quickly slid on the tablet, trying to find some interesting content. As a living area up master, she still had pretty high requirements for the quality of her videos. At least it couldn't live up to 100,000 fans. A week ago, she posted a dynamic with a notification that she wanted to do an issue of sharing goodies, but a week had passed and she still didn't have a clue. She hadn't bought any goodies, so she naturally thought about browsing online stores, finding and using them for a week, and sharing her experience. Seeing that the time is coming, recently is so worried about eating fried chicken and Coke every night. The belly is a little round. Fingers are still unconsciously sliding. Suddenly, in the new store opening column, a name some simple store into the eyes. Generous Business Bookstore. Bookstore? As a history teacher, it was quite sensitive to books, especially ancient books. Slightly interested, she temporarily put the out video behind her and clicked into the store, wanting to see if she could find a good book. However, just clicked in, found nothing. Store written on the words new store opening, new in a week. This is a little upset. Casually threw it into the collection store. She began to mindlessly browse the online store again. Right, today's class roll call. The one called Xiao Fan didn't arrive. Next class we'll have to ask. The next morning, Xiao Fan woke up in high spirits, put on a good suit, a elite look. Out of the school, he went straight to the new China Bookstore Transit Center. After riding for more than an hour through the center of the city, he finally arrived at 11 o'clock. As a big boss, he naturally went straight to the manager. At this time, Xiao Fan and the bookstore manager were sitting in the office, facing each other, wide-eyed. You said that you want that kind of tattered ancient book? The manager only felt that it was a bit ridiculous, and his face was in disbelief. There was no market for counting ancient books in the bookstore. And now you want broken ancient books. Could it be that you are not amusing me? Seeing this, Xiao Fan added, I'm an online store owner, specializing in doing some hunting stuff. The theme of this issue was broken old books. That's why I've come over here. The amount needed is not too big, just more than 30,000 books. Hearing this, the manager's face slowed down a little. After a slight hesitation, he said somewhat helplessly, in this case, I'll take you to visit. Saying so, he got up and led Xiao Fan to the warehouse. Along the way, Xiao Fan was able to feel a hint of skepticism that always existed in this manager. But he didn't explain anything and soon arrived at the warehouse. Opening the door, a musty odor rushed Xiao Fan's head. It's been a bit long, come in. The manager pointed to a corner where about nearly 10,000 broken books were piled up. Recently just these. The last batch just destroyed the day before yesterday. He again looked at Xiao Fan with skepticism on his face, but found that the indescribable surprise on the latter's face did not seem to be faked. I'll go take a look. Xiao Fan walked as if flying, directly swept to the pile of broken books and flipped back and forth. The more he flipped, the more excited he became. Broken ones. Missing pages, those that were more than 10 centimeters thick. This was the perfect item he had been dreaming of. Paradise. Xiao Fan hurriedly got up, cupped his hands around the manager's shoulders, and eagerly said, "Pack it all up for me, I'll take it all. This kind of treasure, destroying all of it would be a waste." Manager. Chapter 3, Shop New Arrivals. Is this how a human being can react? It's just a pile of rags. The manager was puzzled, but could not help but Xiao Fan sincerely wanted this batch of treasures, so he could only settle the bill in a daze and pack up all these tens of thousands of wastes. If it will be treated as scrap, these things can be sold on $2,000 as good, and sold to Xiao Fan, is 20,000 whole. Xiao Fan also looked happy, and taught the manager to be a little embarrassed. This is a good idea. The manager was a little embarrassed. Xiao Fan does not care, but so many books, it is impossible to mail to the dormitory. On the dormitory, that little place, how can it be put down? Besides, Xiao Fan does not want to be too high profile. In the campus, a little bit of new things can be hot for a while, become a popular terrier. He does not want a fire. Then he has to find a place for these books. The good thing is, he still has a part of his startup money left, generously operated. Remaining disposable funds, 14,583, N, 14583 short rent a warehouse. 10 days then, 2,000 enough, right? There is still more than 12,000 left. Xiao Fan heart reckoning. Some worry, then once again looked to that side of the face wonderful manager. Seriously asked, older brother, when the next batch of goods can arrive? Manager. This person is provoking me? He only felt that there must be something fishy about this unheard of bizarre deal, and at this moment carefully asked, "You, what exactly are you trying to do?" Xiao Fan saw this cautious look of him as a defensive agent. Maybe a screen masterpiece was sketched out in his mind. Doubly helpless, he only had to take out his cell phone and show him his store business license, as well as the online store page. Company legal person, Xiao Fan. After reading that information, the manager fell into deep thought. It was really a businessman, really just wanting to do a themed sale? To this online business, the manager that is not at all understand. At the moment half believe half doubt look at Xiao Fan, hesitant, little brother, I see that you are good, and I do not pit you. First say good. These things, basically cannot be sold. You go back to a big loss, but do not come to me here to make trouble. Xiao Fan happy, quite appreciative. You also think that you cannot sell heroes see the same. Manager. The manager shook his head, no longer communicating with little cutie. Exchange. Just responded, your luck is not quite normal. Tomorrow at noon, there will be a second batch of goods to come in. Will not be too much. It is estimated that there are only 4,000 or 5,000 books. Xiao Fan was stunned after hearing this. His face was odd. 4,000 or 5,000 books. Wouldn't that just cost about 10,000? It's really heaven's help. Thinking about this, Xiao Fan waved his hand in a very bold manner. I'll book it. Manager. Booking a batch of rags. Why is this person so happy? Xiao Fan didn't care at all about the manager's gaze and took down his phone number before turning around and leaving in style. Older brother. When I find a warehouse in a while, I'll call you, and you help me transport the books there. Got it. The manager answered and looked at Xiao Fan's distant young figure. His mouth couldn't help but smack. Young people are also entrepreneurial? Hunting? Generously run a bookstore. He couldn't help but pull out his cell phone, searching for the store called Not Yet New, and clicked on follow. It would be interesting to see how this young man carried out the theme. Time was running out. There were only 8 days left before the settlement. He had to finish everything on the shelves tomorrow. According to the requirements of the system, a week before the settlement, there are still unreleased products. Then the settlement will be delayed. Tomorrow was the deadline. Xiao Fan only felt energized, not willing to waste a minute. Took out his cell phone and hurriedly searched for a large warehouse rental, flipped all over, and finally, rented a large warehouse not far from the neighborhood. 2,000. 10 days, after booking the warehouse, he called the manager, informed the address, and asked them to hurry to send it over. Nowadays, the goods are complete, but if you want to put them on the shelves, it is still a little difficult. So many books, messy, if not roughly categorized, cannot be sold properly. We have to find some temporary workers to categorize the books and help operate the online store before they can be put on the shelves. There. Find roommates. Thinking of his 3 poor roommates, Xiao Fan couldn't help but reveal a smug smile, feeling that everything was under control. There was no cheaper labor than college students. Of course, the company operated on the idea of generosity, so he naturally wouldn't shortchange his brothers. Pulling out his phone, he dialed Zhang Yang. Hello, brother Fan? I'll give you guys a good chance to make money. 700 a night. Yo, that's too much. Is it reliable, brother Fan? What's the job? Vango? Is it serious? I'm not selling my ass. Very interested. Xiao Fan was like an old fox, seducing them, moving books, sorting, absolutely reliable. 7 o'clock, rich armor warehouse gathering, come or not? Xiao Fan asked directly. With his knowledge of these few iron roosters, such an earning job, they are sure. Come must come. Brother Fan loves you. Such a good job still thinking about the brothers. Xiao Fan put down his cell phone, with a smile on his face. His footsteps were easy as he walked towards the warehouse. The next day at noon, everything ended. The books were all delivered and put on the shelves. The warehouse neatly lists 300 to 400 stacks of books with clear categories. Remaining disposable amount, 0. Personal assets, 21. Xiao Fan looked at the data on the system panel and couldn't help but crack a smile. It was very successful. In the end, the budget exceeded by $100 or so, but it was not a big problem. Xiao Fan personally made up for it. The 3 roommates also didn't notice any abnormality at all. Although they were physically and mentally exhausted, they still happily received $700 and clamored to go back and have a big meal. After all this, Xiao Fan completely relaxed, sleepy, hastily returned to the dormitory to make up sleep. Before going to sleep, opened the cell phone to take a look. Found that this shabby store is actually 2 people collection. He immediately had a panic. Sleepiness are receding a lot. However, on second thought, the new store will have recommendations. Their store until now only 2 collections. Where is worth panicking? Isn't this a sign that the bookstore is not popular? Touché, Xiao Fan thought through, and then peacefully fell asleep. In the dream, there is a beautiful teacher to play with him. Tick tick, the store you follow is new. Hua Orange was lying on the bed, holding the tablet and was flipping through it in boredom, when the screen bang suddenly dropped and prompted this sentence. The store you follow? The video has been dragging on for a day, but she still didn't have any clue. Was so anxious that she didn't browse the online store for the whole day. But this time, somehow, ghost-like, she just clicked on it. And so, she discovered a new continent. The actual record of plowing and weaving women's farming in the Golden Kingdom? The airplane wisdom of the Shang dynasty? Ancient so mating detailed discussion and illustration? All of a sudden, she was captivated by these books that looked incredibly tattered, but the names were each hunted. Chapter 4 Hua Orange's efforts. Oh my god, there's even the unspeakable secrets of Han Ming Emperor. Hua Orange instantly immersed herself in this seemingly unimpressive little store, unable to extricate herself. Browsing all the way down, she was surprised to find that in just 2 days, this bookstore had actually shelved more than 10,000 ancient books. Where did they all come from? Soon, 4 hours passed in a hurry. After experiencing the initial shock and curiosity, she was now much calmer. I can't believe I would wander around such a boring store for 4 hours. Hua Orange held her forehead helplessly, her face full of incredulity. None of these books were written by famous authors. Looking at their names, none of them are even considered proper history, not even wild history. All of them are made up, and even added all kinds of magical elements. For example, Kong Ming Emperor's Crossing Experience, Dulbus Human Slave Era and so on. Just look at the name of the book. We know that it is the author of the Magic to Change. On the pictures, each of these books was 10 centimeters thick. Hua Orange flipped through half of the catalog in her head, and after her initial curiosity disappeared, reason told her that none of them were worth buying. Taking another look at the store's newly changed out synopsis, she only had the desire to pass the store a razor blade. How could there be such a boring and rich person? Just as she felt guilty for falling into a void and wasting 4 hours, and was about to turn off her tablet, a thought flashed through her mind like a bolt of lightning. It's true that this bookstore is not good. It's definitely a money loser. Maybe it won't be open for long, but such a boring and hunting store is too suitable to be made into a video and shared out. With one thought, she herself was shocked for a moment. With her experience of 100,000 fans, if she really made such a boring and time-consuming video, she was afraid that it would be fire dry. Hua Orange was so excited that she stared at this generously run bookstore and took out her camera to record her purchase. Swish, swish, swish. 20 or so books were added to the shopping cart and checked out. Dropping. Transaction successful. Paid $116. Express will ship within a day. Hua Orange nodded her head in satisfaction, thinking, this store is really doing charity. More than 20 books. Just 100 out. Good people nah. Dropping. A customer has placed an order. The young girl's prompting voice woke up the sleeping Xiao Fan directly, as if a bolt of electricity split in the boundless dimness. He got up in a hurry, patted his cheeks, and when he was awake, he pulled out his cell phone and saw the only single business. 116? 22 books? What the hell? In a flash, Xiao Fan's heart panicked. It shouldn't be When he tapped the page of his cell phone and checked the order, he found that the delivery address was actually the faculty and staff dormitory of Mingshan University. Which teacher happened to see it? Tap on the purchase list. The complete guide to raising pigs in the Shang dynasty. The flirtation of Emperor Qianming. The bestialization of all Qin. Xiao Fan saw all the way to the end and couldn't help but open his mouth wide, his heart steeply rising with a wave of anger. Silly fork, buy all these books? More money to burn? It was nothing more than a teacher who happened to buy some books. He wasn't worried about this trend expanding out. After all, to this day, his store still only had 5 concerns as well. 3 from roommates. Losing money was doomed, but selling 116 today means that in 7 days, he will make 116 less. A bloody loss. No, $5 a book is still hanging low, Xiao Fan thought. In order to avoid really someone this boring, and then buy many books, he directly raised the unit price to $20 a book. After changing the price, he slept beautifully. This time, there is no way anyone will buy it. 2 days passed in a flash. Since someone placed an order, out of the system regulations, Xiao Fan must also mail the book. This is a waste of his efforts to find so many 20 books out of tens of thousands of books. Luckily, he had categorized them beforehand. Now, these books were finally transported to Hua Orange's hands. After struggling to transport them up to the 3rd floor, Hua Orange couldn't wait to open the courier and pulled out a 10-centimeter thick book, Ancient Sao Mating in Illustrations, and casually flipped through it. The first page, blank. Hua Orange froze and subconsciously flipped to the second page, still blank. It wasn't that the page was broken, but on this page, there were no words. The following page number kept changing, and she kept flipping back until halfway through. The page number came to 500, and she saw the content of the first page. In ancient times, there was a half step of the Analects of Confucius to rule the world. My book also has this ability. You carefully study to ensure that you are proficient in this way. Hua Orange, for some reason, at this moment, she suddenly did not have the courage to scroll down. However, on second thought, isn't it her intention to do such an equally boring and strange issue of good shop sharing? Thinking of this, a surge of energy suddenly filled her heart, and when she looked at the books again, it was with excitement amidst sorrow and anger. At last there was material. Babies, wait for me. This installment of the video package you will like. It will be online in 3 days. After posting this dynamic, Hua Orange no longer delayed, directly took out her camera and started recording. There were only 5 days left before the system settled. These days, not a single business was reached again, but there were 3 or 2 comments under the store. Garbage store, hurry up and close down. I don't want to see what's out there. Can it be specialized in modern technology? Just this? $20 a book? Robbing money? Xiao Fan looked at these comments, but was filled with gratitude. Thank you for brushing off the bad reviews. Thank you for not buying it. Brother Fan, go to class. Hua Orange's class, Zhang Yang said. After so many days had passed, he still appreciated and cared for Hua Orange and insisted on attending class. Xiao Fan was in quite a good mood at the moment, and there was nothing to do around. So he took a pen with him and walked out of the dormitory. Out of Zhang Yang's insistence, Xiao Fan was also forced to sit in the first row. Of course, he did not reject it. After all, the first row had a better view and was closer to the beautiful teacher. Waiting patiently, Xiao Fan was incomparably looking forward to it. However, when Hua Orange, who was dressed in a professional outfit and stepped on a thin high heel, walked to the podium, a nameless anger steeply surged to his heart. It was her. Everyone's gazes were focused on Hua Orange's body, except for Xiao Fan, who at a glance saw the thick and tattered book hanging between her arms. The Earth Dog Asks for Eternal Life. He was extremely impressed with this book. He had searched for a whole 3 hours before he was able to rummage through the bottom of a pile of books and mailed it. It was this beautiful teacher that caused him to lose 116 yang. After finishing the first class with gritted teeth, Xiao Fan sat in his seat, glancing at Hua Orange's pretty figure from time to time, his heart deeply helpless. Such a good-looking little girl. How is it that her brain is not very good? And when he noticed that in just 10 minutes between classes, this beautiful teacher was so excited and focused that she was quickly flipping through the book Dirt Dog Asking for Eternal Life, his whole body was stunned. Surprisingly, there were really people who would love to read this kind of stuff. What he didn't know was that this was already the 12th book that Hua Orange had read, and tonight, those 20-odd books would be finished, and tomorrow morning, a video that had set the living area on fire would be able to be sent out without any problems. Chapter 5, the book is sold out and there is no way to return to heaven. After the class, Hua Orange hugged her books all the way back to the dormitory before she remembered that she forgot to ask Xiao Fan why this student didn't come to the last class. Forget it, let's give him a break. Reading the book was too serious. In order to make an installment of a video with a fantastically high quality and detailed content, she had wasted her sleep and food in the past few days. Tonight, she would surely liver all the books, check the material, and cut it out, saying that she would do it. She rummaged through the last 5 books from the floor, and she began her tedious reading time. She swore that it was reading long and wordy historical essays, or even literary history books. That wasn't this hard. Her frowns were so tightly knit that her eyes were starry-eyed and her brain was incapable of thinking. Finally, at 9 o'clock in the evening, she finished reading all these books. Phew! After taking a long breath, Hua Orange stretched her somewhat numb legs. Her slender white legs were alluring. With a jolt of spirit, she took the camera, drew out the memory card and connected it to the computer. Snap! Click on the video. The 30-hour-long footage then appeared on top of the computer screen. It's so not easy. Hua Orange looked at her own masterpiece, and actually had a feeling of tears in her eyes. After moving herself for a while, she waved her fists and started frantically cutting the movie. Dropping. The up master you follow, Little Flower of the Other World, has updated his video. At the same time, in a different location, this prompt appeared on top of many people's cell phones, including Xiao Fan, who had just finished his battle. Thinking that this was the naive and beautiful teacher who had spoiled his big plan to make money, this hand couldn't help but click in. Just after going in, he saw 3 or 2 comments. My wife is also too diligent. Kudos first. Upstairs. This is my wife. Get lost. Xiao Fan smiled with the corner of his mouth, thinking, there are quite a few beautiful teacher-husband fans. The video had just been released, and the number of online viewers was more than 50, so he was a little surprised. It's so late. Ghostly. He also clicked on the video that was 6 hours long. The pop-ups flew by. What is this? Why would I want to watch something like this? Ancient people's Sao postpartum care? In the video, Hua Orange had a sweet smile and a soft voice, holding a worn and thick book in her hands as she excitedly said, all you babies, you'll never realize how explosive my video for this installment is. Words in the front. Like this video. Remember to give a trifecta support this period of video to do too tired. After saying that, an incredibly thick book appeared in the video. Tattered. Missing pages. Boring. The book was placed on Hua Orange's white silk, and in the picture, the innocent and energetic villain was watching the book carefully. Xiao Fan instantly opened his mouth wide in incomparable surprise. Wasn't this a book from his bookstore? How had it been made into a video? In an instant, he had an ominous premonition. How much energy would a small up owner with 100,000 followers possess? It wouldn't make his bookstore's turnover skyrocket, would it? With apprehension, Xiao Fan didn't even dare to sleep, and focused on watching the video, and the number of comments. Every 3 minutes, the camera position would change, focusing on the content of the book. It was convenient for everyone to have a detailed understanding of the book's content. What is this? I'm dizzy. What's so great about this video? Watching you read a book? It's also too watery. Nonsense. My wife is so good looking. I'm willing to watch her read all night. The video was 6 hours long. Reasonably speaking, they could tolerate up to 2 minutes and then push it out. But they couldn't help but see that the pair of white silks were too good looking, so they saw it all the way up to 20 minutes. Almost only 2 or 3 people exited the video. The pop-ups were still interacting. There's no way my wife would make such a boring video. There's bound to be a reversal. Old me just doesn't fast forward. Go wife. You look so beautiful when you study seriously. Drop. Time came to half an hour, and the video screen suddenly changed. Hua Orange was sitting upright, holding a copy of the Airplane Wisdom of the Shang Dynasty in her hands. Friends, thank you for being able to see this. I believe you have also found out that this video is absurd from time to time. The content is absurd. The book, even more absurd. In front of the screen, a group of frowning people could not help but nod secretly. Said too right. I have to tell you guys, this whole video is like this. There will be no surprises, changes. These days, I couldn't think of any good topics until I came across this bookstore and these books. At first, I bought them back with a hunter's mind, but after torturously reading the first one, I suddenly had some marvelous epiphanies about life. We go too fast. Sometimes, slow down to see more truly. This video is destined to be a marvelous and absurd journey. I hope you will follow me. You will definitely have extraordinary rewards. Wang. The screen disappeared. Xiao Fan was completely dumbfounded. This woman, who had actually finished reading 20 or so books that were so uninteresting. For a moment, he was in a bit of a trance, touched by Hua Orange's hardworking and diligent appearance. However, in the next instant, his mind was again attracted by the number of comments. There are already over 1,000 comments. Why does it feel like there's a real trend of fire? It can't be. He just watched numbly, his heart clenched together for the rest of the night, and nearly didn't jump off the stairs in anger. The number of comments was soaring. Just after an hour, the number of comments had broken 10,000. Xiao Fan was also a senior user of this site, and he knew very well what such data meant. Explosive fire. Fire exploded. Incorrect. He seemed to have captured the blind spot, and a bit of hope rose in his heart. There's still a chance. She didn't say the name of the store. As long as others cannot find my store, is the victory. There are only 3 days left. 3 days? Hide it. Just looking at it, Xiao Fan did not want to sleep, but lately he was really tired. In the middle he struggled to wake up and sleep, and behind him he completely slept through it. What he does not know is that there are many people who are inspired by the video to attract people to watch it, and wildly brushed the comments interaction. Finally, the day dawned and the video was finished. Oh my god, I feel like I've ascended. Thank you for this video. 1 click and 3 in a row now. Up is too much. Support. This night, everyone interacted in the comment section. A handful of 50 people. Frozen brushed out tens of thousands of comments. At noon the next day, this video directly rushed to the third on the heat list, and after being seen by more people, this video exploded out of the circle, exploding all the major social software, and even boarded the way hot search. Even the evening news was broadcasting this phenomenon. Ding! Congratulations on the work successfully breaking through 1 million plays. The work's broadcast volume exceeded 5 million. Hua Orange was awakened by this series of beeps, pulled out her cell phone, and after flipping through it, she was also dumbfounded. She had expected that she would be on fire in a small circle for a while, but she didn't expect that she would be out of the circle, and even her fan count had gone up by 500,000 at once. This young lady is too persistent. This is outstanding. It's too magical. I actually didn't fast forward at all. After watching it, I feel like I'm in heaven now. Ironies, the video is too magical. You guys watch it. I'm going to find this bookstore and take a look. Yes, the bookstore. This bookstore is also too strange. Brothers, the human flesh came out. It's called Generously Run Bookstore. The URL is right here. Hua Orange read all the way down, rarely seeing any bad reviews, her eyes bent with laughter. The number of comments exceeded 200. 000. The hottest up on the net is no better than this. Gotta go thank the bookstore manager. Hua. Midday. Xiao Fan woke up abruptly. A thought that made his mind tremble flashed in his mind, and he hurriedly opened his cell phone. The store page. Message 999 plus. Comments 10W plus. In an instant, Xiao Fan's brain seemed to be dumbfounded as if it was hammered by a heavy hammer. Taking another look at the order page. 999 plus. Oops, there are no more books on the bookshelf. Come back after a while. Xiao Fan unconsciously flipped through his cell phone. His face gradually became gloomy, bitter, and desperate. Store attention, 15W. A total of 14,689 books on the shelves were swept away. He dumbly opened the system page, looked at the panel, and muttered, "Heaven is going to kill me." Host, Xiao Fan. Remaining disposable funds, 0. Current profit, 295,423. Net profit, 255,423. Estimated personal funds available, 2,554.23. Settlement date, 2 days later. Xiao Fan's eyes were lost in thought as he muttered, "It's over. The $40,000 that came to hand. Gone. There is no way back to heaven." For a moment, Xiao Fan's face looked like death, as if he had died. Hua Orange. Your heart is so vicious. Suddenly, a message came from his store. Tee-hee, I'm the Upmaster, little flower of the other world. I borrowed your store's book to make a video, and now the response is pretty good. I believe you've also felt everyone's enthusiasm. I'm very grateful to you, and would like to invite you to catch up and express my gratitude in person. Chapter 6 Settlement. Xiao Fan had a sentence of MMP in his heart that he didn't know whether to speak or not. That's her. If it wasn't for her video, he would have gotten his hands on $40,000. Still want to express gratitude in person. Dream on. Thanks. No need. Bye you grin. Xiao Fan quickly typed a few words, clicked and sent, then closed the web page. Out of sight, out of mind. Taking a look at the balance of his cell phone, it was quite a bit of comfort. With $2,400 of personal funds, it was finally a bit of a gain, but with $40,000 slipping out of his hands, his heart still hurt so much. Drop. The attention beep sounded. Hua Orange looked at the store owner's reply the first time and frowned. Why did you refuse? Such a good publicity opportunity. She couldn't figure it out, and on second thought, she admitted to herself that she appreciated the store owner's mood. The store owner was probably stealing joy this time. After all, once his own video came out, more than 10,000 books were all sold out. If she were to change herself, she would definitely be grateful to herself. Well, that's the reasoning. Hua Orange nodded her chin. However, what should the next installment of the program be? Her mind quickly turned away, and she didn't even care about the store owner's reply. Drip. The bookstore manager's phone call. Xiao Fan glanced at it and connected. The laughter of the bookstore owner came from inside. Mr. Xiao, congratulations. I looked at your store information. More than 10,000 books, all sold out. Looks like Mr. Xiao is a business genius. This can all be turned into treasure. The bookstore manager's compliments continued and Xiao Fan only wanted to curse. What's there to congratulate? Congratulating yourself for letting go of $40,000 and leaving over $2,000? Manager is polite. I still need to work hard. After all, people were kind enough to congratulate. Xiao Fan forced a smile and politely said a few words. TSK. Young people are just modest. The bookstore owner rubbed his teeth and admired in his heart. No wonder people are successful. Look, such a big turnover. And they are not a bit crazy. Compared to himself, the bookstore owner cannot bear to look straight. Fixing his mind, the bookstore manager said his purpose. Mr. Xiao, we have 7 to 8,000 new old books here. Or should we send them to the warehouse? Xiao Fan had a sharp wit. Still selling? Don't even think about it. The more you sell, the more you lose. No need. I want to switch to other types of books to see if there is a market. The proposal from the bookstore manager was politely declined. The bookstore manager was confused when he heard this. He hadn't said anything wrong. Why did he reject it? Young people nowadays. What strange ideas. Seeing Xiao Fan's lack of interest, the bookstore manager hung up the phone. Xiao Fan became more and more stifled in his heart and threw his cell phone on the table. The whole person lay on his back on the boat, listless. Ha, brother Fan, you didn't go to class again today? The dormitory door was pushed open and the 3 roommates came back from class. Zhang Yang asked with a smile. Well, I didn't go today. Xiao Fan sat up lazily. That's fine. Brother Fan's store is so hot. It's understandable that he didn't go to class. Brother Fan, drink water. Brother Fan, eat fruit. Zhang Yang and the others were all sweeter than one another, competing to pat Xiao Fan's ass. Brother Fan, you are really something. More than 10,000 old books that no one wants have been sold out by you. You've earned a lot now. Xiao Fan glanced at his personal assets of more than 2,000, and his heart twitched. However, he steeped a wit and looked at the 3 goods vigilantly. Listen, the name calling had all changed to Brother Fan. There was definitely something wrong. Usually, they all called themselves by their first names. Say what you have to say, and let go if you have a fart. Xiao Fan, who had the heart to guess their minds, said without good humor. Hey, I just want to ask, is there any more work in the future? If there is, still call us. Zhang Yang rubbed his hands together and said with a fawning smile. The 2 goods next to him also nodded their heads in succession. It seems that the last time he hired them, he got a sweet tooth and didn't want to give it up. Hey, right, you can totally hire them yourself in the future. College students, they're cheap. Besides, these 3 guys are simply the archetypal uneducated. Afterward, when one thinks of a way to lose money, one would still use them to drop. Well, I know. Xiao Fan nodded his head and agreed with them. See, I told you. Brother Fan will definitely agree. Seeing Xiao Fan promise, the 3 of them were pleasantly surprised. Brother Fan is just generous. Right, Brother Fan, I see that the books in your store are sold out. Why don't you enter new books? Xiao Fan's eyes twitched. He himself also wanted to enter. After all, the conversion rate of profit was low, but a mosquito is meat even if it's small. But he didn't have any money in his hand. Looking at the system page, the profit was quite a lot, but he couldn't use it himself. Personal funds are pitifully small. The bookstore's side is out of books. When there is business in the future, I will still look for you guys. 2 days passed quickly and the time for settlement arrived. Host, Xiao Fan. Net profit, 255,423. Personal funds, 2,564.23. Disposable funds, 0. Because Xiao Fan did not have the funds to acquire new books, the amount did not change much over the past 2 days. Although Hua Orange's video had set Xiao Fan's store on fire, people's enthusiasm came and went quickly. Soon no one paid much attention to the bookstore's information. Xiao Fan took a look and under the store's message, there was a clear line of curses. Hey, how come there's no more stock? Store owner, that's right, I still want to buy a few books that baby Hua reads. The store owner actually doesn't replenish the goods. I wish your store will close down soon. There were too many negative comments left behind, causing Taotao to put Xiao Fan's online store in the unwelcome category, and it was soon left unattended. However, this was just what Xiao Fan wanted. It was better if no one asked, not just letting himself lose money. However, I do not know if there is a second chance. Xiao Fan looked at the system page with apprehension, as if listening to Xiao Fan's heart. With a ding-dong sound, the system page was refreshed. Xiao Fan's mood was shaken. System refreshed. Please host check. Disposable funds, 300,000. Personal funds, 2,654.23. Settlement date, 30 days. Note, net worth is less than 300,000. The system automatically makes up for it. The corner of Xiao Fan's mouth grinned and he clenched his fist fiercely. Great! This system is so sweet. He still has a chance. And moreover, the disposable funds have increased to $300,000. This time, ones could think hard about how to lose money more effectively. In these 2 days, Xiao Fan also summarized the reasons for his failure. there was Orange's reason, and also the crowd's hunting mentality. In short, it could only be considered a coincidence. Did not see the other books. Still a stall of stagnant water, not much trading volume. Decided, this time resolutely avoid the pit in front. You guys are not curious, I will choose normal books this time. See if you are still willing to buy. I'm on a collision course with you guys. Xiao Fan. Say so. Xiao Fan was hesitant. It was just the specific categories that Xiao Fan hadn't thought of yet. Xiao Fan, let's go. Class is in session. Roommate Zhang Yang greeted Xiao Fan and the four of them went to class together. Chapter 7, a new program. Coincidentally, this class was Orange's history class. Orange was dressed in a plain little suit with a short white skirt underneath. Pure and seductive. The boys in the class were drooling as they watched, not leaving her figure for a moment. Xiao Fan was in a bad mood. It was because of her that disrupted his steps. The chance to earn $40,000 originally flew away. He couldn't even hate him at this moment. How could he have other thoughts? However, the white calves did look tantalizing. Bared, the gazes of the boys, Orange had long been used to. It was only one of the peculiar gazes that was of which she was keenly aware of. This is the absentee Xiao Fan, isn't it? Not attending class properly and actually having the heart to think more. No, as his teacher, I have to be responsible for him. Orange's sense of responsibility exploded in her heart and stomped up to the podium. Classmates, the video I took. Everyone has seen it, right? The boys at the bottom froze. Then they clamored. This group of animals, in order to look at beautiful women. 4 hours of video. They all watched it. Mr. Hua, I've watched all the videos of you reading books. The way teacher reads books is beautiful. Well, it's boring, but the mood is inexplicably relaxing. And me, I finished watching it too. Orange's popularity really wasn't something to sneeze at. The entire class of boys had become her fans. Thanks for the compliments, classmates. Orange squeezed her hand, signaling for silence. However, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. You guys also went to the generously run bookstore, right? The owner of the store is not afraid of failure in order to start his own business. So absurd books dare to be sold, and also sold a big fire. Such a spirit is worth learning from us. Orange waved her white arms, as if she really admired the store owner who sold books. This is talking about me? Xiao Fan was a little confused, although he opened his own store with the intention of losing money. However, the beautiful teacher's admiration and praise made his heart soothe. He could not help but show a hint of a smile on his face. You still have the face to smile? Orange originally thought that she could wake up Xiao Fan, but when she saw his smile, she became even more angry. Unlike some of our classmates, not only do they miss class, they also don't listen carefully in class. As she spoke, she also glanced at Xiao Fan from time to time. Xiao Fan didn't realize it at first, but pondered over it after a long time. Feeling that Orange was talking about herself, Xiao Fan was a little indignant. History class is such a boring class, what's the point of taking it? It was also Orange's reason. Otherwise there would be a large number of people sleeping in class. I seem to have some ideas myself. The contemplative Xiao Fan's stance was upright. His gaze was focused, and he definitely looked like he was listening carefully. That's more or less the same. Orange saw Xiao Fan's serious appearance and thought that her words had an effect. She couldn't help but nod in delight. Alright, class is now in session. Seriously speaking, the history class was really meaningless. At the beginning, coveting the teacher's beauty, the crowd was still able to hold on. However, halfway through the class, most of the people fell into what seemed like sleep. Orange could do nothing about it. Although she could wake them up, she knew that the crowd would soon revert back to their old ways. Turning her head to look at Xiao Fan, who was always unchanged and listening carefully to the lecture, she finally had some comfort in her heart. There are still people who are willing to learn. Xiao Fan's eyes focused and finally came back to his senses. Glancing at the surrounding students who were huffing and puffing, Xiao Fan had a pleasant smile on his face. Soon, class was over. Xiao Fan and Zhang Yang went back to the dormitory together. Xiao Fan, I'm really convinced that you can listen to history class with great interest. Next to him, Zhang Yang sighed in admiration. The other two roommates also nodded in agreement. Xiao Fan was secretly happy in his heart, although he knew that they misunderstood. But who didn't have a bit of vanity anymore? Yeah, if it wasn't for Mr. Hua's class, this history class, I would have escaped long ago. Well, shrinking in the dormitory to play games, and not to suffer this crime. Xiao Fan's two roommates looked like they had a deep hatred for history class. It was evident how much the students hated history class. It was even more proof that his three roommates were real school scum. After listening to the three people's complaints, the corner of Xiao Fan's mouth hooked up as he made up his mind in his heart. Very good, very good. The three roommates were confused, not understanding where the good was. Xiao Fan at this time which has the mood to explain with them. Making money, is the proper thing? Humph, I this time all buy into the history book, Japanese version, English version, Indian version, anyway, each country language comes some. I do not believe that this time there is that no more people to buy, even if there is buy. Think it must also talk about a few strokes only. Xiao Fan feels that he can again. The last time the old book sale, purely by accident. This time 300,000 funds, he when counted all bought into the history book. Do not believe that can still sell. Loss of money. I'm an old hand. The heart of the joyful thinking nothing. Even Zhang Yang 3 people invited the meal he did not go. Although free to dine and eat quite cool. But which is important to lose money. Xiao Fan was confident and rushed back to the dormitory with great strides, leaving Zhang Yang and the others with a strange look on their faces. Xiao Fan actually refused our meal. This is not normal. Definitely not normal. Zhang Yang muttered. In the past, as long as there was a meal, Xiao Fan and I would go to Delhi for a meal. Even if we didn't know anyone at the meal, we still didn't change our faces and ate and drank as we should. Now there is a free meal. He actually refused. The feelings faded. Ahem. Zhang Yang you forgot. Xiao Fan but just made a big profit. He should have thought of a new investment project just now. Don't we have a chance to make money again? Zhang Yang's roommate, who was quite wise, analyzed a few sentences. The trio's eyes lit up, and that bright light was the color of money. Dormitory. Xiao Fan took a look at his own online store to the bottom of the recommendations, becoming the least popular bookstore. The corner of his mouth gradually grinned. Bottom tier is good, so that no one pays attention to his little store. The 150,000 concerns were also cancelled because Xiao Fan did not replenish the old books and left a few curses. Turning to the concern page, looking at the top 5 concerns, Xiao Fan always felt a bit obtrusive. It would have been better if no one had paid attention to him. After thinking about it, Xiao Fan still didn't remove them. With a few snaps, he sent out the news from the bookstore. Netizens, a new installment of books will be hitting the shelves, so stay tuned. In view of the unreliability of selling friend amount online last time, Xiao Fan still decided to get books from the bookstore script. After working together once, there was no need to put in extra effort to work together again. That's how lazy we are. Without hesitation, he found the bookstore manager's phone number and called it. The bookstore manager was a bit troubled. Last time, Xiao Fan bought more than 10,000 old books in one go, creating a new profit point for the bookstore. The leader of the bookstore was very happy, and called himself to the office, praised him severely, and said that he would let himself keep up the good work, and give himself a promotion and a raise at the end of the year. He also assured himself with confidence. Who knew that Xiao Fan's side actually did not want it again? This is not a pit? If he calls again, let's see if I don't scold him to death. Ringing, the alarm of his cell phone rang, and the worried bookstore manager raised his eyebrows and smoothly answered it. Hello, this is Xiao Fan. The bookstore manager took a deep breath and bent his body slightly, his face wearing a smile as he asked in a soft voice. It's Mr. Xiao. What can I do for you? Chapter 8 Into the library. I want books. Tons of books. Xiao Fan shouted loudly, looking like a big boss. The smile on the bookstore manager's face grew stronger as he confirmed. Or old books. We've reaccumulated more than 10,000 old books here. There's enough to go around. Xiao Fan. Mentioning old books, Xiao Fan was a little disturbed. Wasn't this manager rubbing salt into his heart? What old books? I don't want them. The tone was full of resentment and dislike. The bookstore manager was confused. Don't want old books. You tell me just when he was about to get angry, Xiao Fan's words made him smile again. I want history books. Nearly 300,000 all for history books. How about it? Is there any? $10 a book. Where do you have how many? I want them all. Mr. Xiao, wait a moment. I'll ask. The bookstore manager gave a pacifying cry, covered the microphone and shouted at the top of his voice. Xiao Li, check how many books on history we have in the bookstore. Hey, I'm on my way. Not too long after, Xiao Li came back to reply. Manager, few people buy books on history. Our bookstore only has a few hundred left. Mr. Xiao, we only have a few hundred books here. Look, is it enough? So few. Tell me, about 300,000. How many history books can I buy? About 30,000 books. That's fine. That's how much it is. But you don't have enough books in the bookstore? The bookstore manager's body shivered when he heard the amount. If he took this business, he would be promoted and get a raise. Mr. Xiao, simple. Allow us to raise for a while. We guarantee that we will be able to gather the amount you want. Alright, then I'll take a look and go tomorrow. Hanging up the phone, Xiao Fan was satisfied with his decision. More than 30,000 history books would definitely be able to buy out most of the history books in bookstores and on the market. With the bookstores clearing out the slow-selling books, and himself quietly losing money. This is a win-win situation. Xiao Fan couldn't help but gloat over his business acumen. There will be no exceptions this time. I, Xiao Fan, have made a flag. With a smile, Xiao Fan closed his eyes with satisfaction and dreamed of his daughter. At the same time, every big and small bookstore in Juku City was bustling with activity. Quickly, send all the history books that are eating dust in our bookstore to New China Bookstore. They have people there to receive them. Manager, what kind of organization actually buys these boring history books? The bookstore clerk asked curiously while carrying them. What do you care? Hurry up and work. The same scene happened in all of the bookstores in Juku City. Truckloads of history books were transported to the New China Bookstore side. In the pink-colored hut, Hua Orange was fidgeting with her chin, her bare little feet fluttering one by one, telling of her owner's troubles. Thinking of the students' reactions in today's history class, she pouted angrily. She is a big beautiful girl in history class. Actually there are also so many students sleeping, so it can be seen how boring history class is. Hua Orange, did such a little difficulty scare you off? Do you want to slink off and admit defeat with your family? Thinking of the bet she made with her family before she came out, Hua Orange couldn't help but clench her fist and sat in a cheering and pumping motion. Cheer up, Hua Orange. You can do it. Thinking of Xiao Fan, who loved to miss classes, she felt a little comfort in her heart. At least, there are still people who are willing to listen carefully. Why don't we let Xiao Fan talk about his experience tomorrow? Maybe it will arouse the interest of others. Well, let's do it. Drip. The attention alert tone recalled. It woke up Hua Orange, who was considering things. After reading the announcement released by the generously run bookstore, Hua Orange had a bit of interest. Previously selling absurd old books, now it was actually time to sell history books. The owner of this store was strange. In light of tomorrow's events, she still put down her desire to explore. Xiao Fan was blissfully unaware that he was being missed, and at night he dreamed that his history books were lagging in sales, and he lost $300,000, all of which went to his own personal account. And the goose laughed. With money, Xiao Fan began to big fish and meat. Hairy crabs eat a throwaway. Luxury. Also made a girlfriend. Just a lift of the eyes. I go. How is Hua Orange? Xiao Fan was directly woken up, opened his eyes, and it was already the next morning. Get up. Smell a smell of alcohol. No Zhang Yang, they drank alcohol. No wonder everyone sleeps like a dead pig. I don't care about them. It's still important to buy books. Lightly drove to the New China Bookstore Transit Center. The bookstore manager had a haggard face and red eyes. Xiao Fan was startled. Old brother, are you alright? The bookstore manager rubbed his face and smiled broadly. I'm fine. Look, this cart is full of history books. How about it? Is it enough? Enough is enough. Looking at the dozen or so carts of history books, Xiao Fan couldn't stop smiling. Such a large amount, and they were all books that no one usually asked for. Xiao Fan said, this wave is stable. It's the same old place, the rich warehouse. However, so many books need to be organized. This way, you tell the masters, 1,000 per person. See if they are willing to unload and organize the books. The bookstore manager mentioned it, and the delivery drivers answered with their mouths full. It's just a dozen or so cars of books. They don't need a day to do it. It's much easier than their usual jobs. Good, let's go. Xiao Fan waved his hand and led the crowd to the warehouse side. After thinking about it, Xiao Fan still went to call Zhang Yang and the others. With the opportunity to earn money, they couldn't forget their good buddies, couldn't they? Not much effort. The three of them rushed over with a face full of eye boogers. Presumably their faces were not washed. Brother Fan, thanks. Hearing that they were paid $1,000, Zhang Yang and the others shouted that Brother Fan was mighty and enthusiastically helped unload the goods. There is strength in numbers, and in half a day's work, the books were all sorted into the warehouse. Check out. Send away the masters. Xiao Fan back hands. In the warehouse patrol up. Hey, this is its own money shaker. A smile bloomed on his face, like an old farmer waiting for a good harvest. Returning to the school, remembering that Hua Orange's class was in the afternoon, in order to keep this tumor from noticing them, Xiao Fan and the others went to class on time. In the classroom, Hua Orange was satisfied as she looked at Xiao Fan, who showed a silly smile from time to time. However, after glancing at the rest of the drowsy crowd, her pretty eyebrows wrinkled. Knock knock. Knocking on the podium, she made the students wake up a little. Everyone, I know that history class is boring, but you can see that when student Xiao Fan attends class, he will be very serious every time. So let's ask him to tell us about his experience. Xiao Fan was a little confused when he heard this. He was just fantasizing about the gains and was just exuberant for a moment, and this was misunderstood. However, wanting himself to help his classmates bring up their interest in studying history was impossible. Fine, then I'll tell it. In his heart, he secretly laughed. He knew too well what students were most bored of. Ahem. Reading history can make sense. Reading history can. A large pot of chicken soup for the soul was thrown out. and the students who barely raised their heads refound a comfortable position, treating Xiao Fan's words as a lullaby. Chapter 9, This wave is stable. Hua Orange listened and nodded her head repeatedly, realizing that Xiao Fan had a good point. How come there's no sound? Xiao Fan's voice was getting smaller and smaller, slowly dying out. Confused and close, a snoring sound entered her ears. Hua Orange put away the urge to hit someone and clenched her silver teeth. Class dismissed. Exasperated, she exited the classroom. Xiao Fan opened his left eye, glanced at the back of the beautiful teacher and smiled triumphantly. Ha ha, with such a boring history book, this wave is 9 out of 10. With a good mood, Xiao Fan walked with the wind, back to the dormitory. Little by little, he entered today's history book catalog into the online store, marked the price. We sell a book for 25, guaranteed to be scolded. It's better if we don't buy it, only less than an hour. Xiao Fan felt some back pain. I'm also stupid. Isn't there 3 good roommates here? Patting his head, he found Zhang Yang and the others and asked them to help input the bibliography. 15,000 a month? Zhang Yang and the 3 of them opened their eyes wide and huffed and puffed. Brother Fan, mighty, I'll do it. Whoever doesn't do it is a cutie. Unsurprisingly to Xiao Fan, the 3 scrambled to agree and agreed to take turns on duty. Xiao Fan leisurely lay on the bed and glanced at the system page. Disposable funds, 4,500. Personal funds, 2,524.23. Settlement time, 28 days later. Hey, guarding hundreds of thousands of assets, what he can spend is only more than $2,000. Is there anything worse than himself? In the next few days, Xiao Fan's life remained the same. Eating at the big cafeteria, buying food and selling food to the big mom. Look at Brother Fan, hundreds of thousands of dollars now, still living so plain. Look at us, earning a few $100. We are so generous, we are really poor and generous. Zhang Yang they secretly sighed. The more they admired Xiao Fan, and the more they were interested in the current part-time job. In less than half a month, all the books were entered into the online store. The 3 of them came looking for it with gusto, and when they said it to Xiao Fan, it made Xiao Fan froze for a moment. What are you guys doing so desperately? Just get it done in the last week of the month. Xiao Fan secretly screamed in his heart that he had missed a trick and forgot to let them do it slower. Having a few extra days of business hours out of thin air increased the risk of making money. When Zhang Yang and the 3 of them heard this, their entire being warmed up. Listen, this is what a good buddy is. Not caring about work, only caring about his buddy's body. Don't worry, Brother Fan, I'll go back and personally help promote your store. Yeah, I've learned web design. I'll help you redesign your online store page. Then I'll compose the AdWords and go. The 3 of them beat their chests and clanked, which really made Xiao Fan worried. It was only the next day that Xiao Fan looked at the 0 transaction records, the altered and even uglier outlet page, and the AdWords that were constantly being scolded, and settled down in his heart. Pay attention to rest. Leaving behind a sentence, Xiao Fan whistled and went out to play soccer. On the other hand, Hua Orange, who had failed the initial test, found the school leader and told him about the situation he had found in the history class. The school leader took it very seriously and called all the history teachers to ask about the situation. Numerous teachers spoke with one voice, expressing concern about the quality of today's history classes. Mr. Hua, this situation you discovered is timely. Let's discuss it soon. The school leader's opinion reached Hua Orange. Let me do a video on a life interview? Hua Orange frowned and thought about it, but decided to give it a try. Babies, the next installment of the video is to reflect on an item of study. I wonder how the response will be. Stay tuned. Dynamic updates. Her fans came to be interested, looking forward to work updates. Since she was going to do it, she would do it well. This was what Hua Orange demanded of herself. In a few days, she ran through various schools and colleges, interviewing students of different age groups respectively. Question: Do you know the Zuan woman change? Elementary school student, is this a new level of the game? Go back and push it. Question: Do you know the 4 great masterpieces? Middle school students, Water Margin, Journey to the West, Romance of the 3 Kingdoms, and Jean Ping Mei? Question: Do you know the Mogao Caves? College science student, is this a newly opened attraction? Go and see it some other day. At night, the more organized, Hua Orange look more serious. History is fading from the roots. The younger the age, the trend is more obvious. Unlike the absurdity of the last video, which was hilarious, producing this installment of the video, Hua Orange's mood was heavy. After staying up all night, her skin turning dry, Hua Orange posted the video she had recorded. Dropping. The uploader you follow, Little Flower of the Other World, has updated the video. Hua Orange's fans all received the video update notification. There was nothing to say. Support your daughter-in-law. Xiao Fan's hands shivered when he received this notification. It was this naive and beautiful teacher that caused him to lose $40,000 in income. Could it be that she has come to wreak havoc on herself again? With an apprehensive mood, Xiao Fan clicked in. At the beginning of the video, Hua Orange had a serious face, and her usual smile was completely gone. Shocked. What's going on? Who upset our Orange? Tell me, I'll send a razor blade. Get lost. When did Orange become your family's? That said, when Orange is serious, she's still very cool. Although the fans saw Hua Orange was serious, they didn't know what he was going to say yet, and the atmosphere was still quite relaxed. This video may not be to everyone's liking, but I feel it should be done. On the screen, Hua Orange was dressed in a reporter's outfit and was very competent. Our Orange really does have the temperament. This look is exactly the same as a real reporter. The video advanced to the elementary school students' answer, causing the crowd to laugh. When it came to the middle school students, the crowd was puzzled. Finally, when it came to the college students, the crowd was a bit heavy-hearted. Hey, what Orange uncovered in this issue is the problem of education. The upper and lower individuals are all responsible for this result. I guess Orange is also angry by their own students angry it. She is a university history lecturer. I can relate to this. I slept all the way through history class. Ditto. +1. Although the crowd was concerned about Hua Orange's video, the reaction sickness wasn't very strong, and no one had the monthly desire to buy a history book to check it out. Xiao Fan sighed in relief. Although the situation in the history class was noticed, it was not a big problem. At the very least, it would not appear like last time, which directly set off a book-buying frenzy. Phew, smooth pass. Secretly comparing a victory pose, Xiao Fan had a hint of an expectant smile on his face. Friends, thank you for watching. I hope I can draw your attention to it. Don't wait for the children to grow up and even lose their roots. The crowd in front of the screen nodded in agreement, but that was it. After waiting for a long time and not seeing any other changes, Xiao Fan then exited the live broadcast room. Glancing at the system page, Xiao Fan couldn't help but smile with his eyebrows. Host, Xiao Fan. Remaining disposable funds, 0. Current profit, 90. Loss, 444,665. Estimated personal funds available, 6,980.88. Settlement time, 3 days later. Settlement time, 3 days later. Chapter 10 Hua Orange's efforts. Humph. Very good. As long as one survived the 3 days, if there were no surprises, one would be able to score more than $280,000. No more need to face an empty personal account. At that time, let's also live the life of a rich man. Xiao Fan glanced at the good unchanged amount of books stored in the store and secretly longed. Phew. The dormitory door was pushed open. Zhang Yang and the three of them walked in quickly. Quickly, let's work on a wave of effort while Mr. Hua's video is getting attention. On the store's webpage, put up a banner that reads, Otherworldly Little Flower pays attention to history heritage. History textbook. You deserve it. I don't believe that our store's sales can't be raised. Zhang Yang waved his arms and shouted slogans to cheer the three of them up. Roar. Work hard. Work hard. The other two roommates followed suit and roared twice, with a look of exploding liver. Only, the more Xiao Fan looked at it, the more it looked like a pyramid scheme. Zhang Yang, what are you guys doing? Xiao Fan pointed to the heavy dark circles under the three's eyes. Stayed up all night? Zhang Yang then saw Xiao Fan lying on the bed and grinned. Hey, brother Fan, if you take care of the brothers can't eat dry. Don't worry, we'll definitely stir up everyone's interest in history and try to sell out our stock of books. Speaking of the goal, a bright light surfaced in Zhang Yang's eyes, making Xiao Fan unable to bear to look at him. You guys take care of your rest. The corner of his mouth twitched. Although he knew that the trio's action was doomed to fail, Xiao Fan could not speak out to combat it. Brother Fan, don't worry. We are not tired. You gave us the opportunity to make money. Of course we have to be worthy of the wages. Zhang Yang spoke in a serious and pious manner. Xiao Fan also realized for the first time that his housemates were not useless. At least they would still encourage themselves. He really wanted to say one thing to them. Shouting slogans in the dormitory is useless. However, it's better to not disturb them yourself, and just sneak in the money. We are so kind in our hearts. On the other side, Hua Orange looked at the lukewarm video and was a bit helpless. When it was released, she had already anticipated such a situation, and was not frustrated in her heart. No, can we really just watch this scene happen? Never. Hua Orange, you can do it. Secretly pumping herself up, Hua Orange turned off her computer and went out to find the school leaders. The head teacher's office. The director of instruction had a serious look on his face. Orange, is the situation so serious? Hua Orange nodded her head gravely. It's more serious than that. Okay, I know. I'll call my old classmate who works in the education bureau to see if there's anything that can be done. The phone was connected, and the director of instruction explained the situation. Director Wang over there had a heavy tone. Old classmate, I know about the situation you mentioned, but there hasn't been any good solutions. What about your side? The director of instruction was speechless. If he had a solution, would he still be looking for him to discuss? Director Wang, I have an idea. Hua Orange spoke with a crystal clear gaze. Oh, say something. 10 minutes later, the director of instruction and Director Wang shouted in unison. Good. Worthy of being a young person. Your mind is just flexible. This time, I'll leave this activity to you. Hua Orange dryly and loudly assured. Please rest assured, leader. I will definitely complete the task. Inadvertently, every club in the university was mobilized, and red banners began to be posted everywhere. The strongest brain history is in Mingshan University, waiting for you to challenge it. Online competition. Winners will be rewarded with prizes and credits. Mingshan University was vaguely agitated, and many students were secretly concerned. I'm going. The strongest brain is coming to our school. Do you guys want to participate? Not going. I heard that it's mainly a competition of historical knowledge. It's better for us scums, to be honest. Although the crowd was interested, they all made it clear that they would not sign up. Xiao Fan saw the changes in the school early in the morning and was a little nervous in his heart. Hua Orange, this poisonous girl wouldn't make another mistake, would she? However, this kind of competition that was more specialized was only of interest to the students of the history department. In the history classroom, Hua Orange had a serious face. Classmates, you've all watched my video, right? As college students, you have to take the responsibility of spreading the idea of reading history. In these 2 days, everyone go out with me and deliver the flyers to the public. The leader, it will be student Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan's brain went boom. It's over. Hua Orange is going to set the table. However, unable to resist the teacher's request, Xiao Fan reluctantly led his classmates onto the city streets, delivering a leaflet to the hands of the public. Promote traditional culture. Start from reading history. History, the root of the nation. Go read history. Reading history makes people wise. Reading history makes people know manners. The content on the flyer was inspirational. Xiao Fan was worried, fearing that the citizen students would become interested. The citizens who received the flyers looked at them for a few moments and threw them away. Although there were a few who were interested, they only casually murmured a few times. Xiao Fan secretly smiled. He. Trying to attract the interest of the citizens with these is not enough. Oh, Xiao Fan knew Hua Orange's purpose, but felt that she had not grasped the point. According to the current situation, 3 days, there would be no surprises. After a day of labor, the effect was a chat. He. I knew it would be like this. On the way back to the dormitory, Xiao Fan secretly smiled in his heart. Glancing at the online store page, there were a few transactions, but compared to the huge amount of inventory, it was completely worthless. Brother Fan, no way. No one is buying the books. When they arrived at the dormitory, Zhang Yang and the others complained with sad faces. Xiao Fan secretly snickered, but still advised in a serious manner. Don't be anxious, wait and see. Right, I heard that Mr. Hua is strongly recommending the masses to read history books. Why don't you guys contact to try? There's still this? Let's go take a look. Zhang Yang and the others were thunderous and got the news from Xiao Fan and went directly to find Hua Orange. Hey, it's just a futile endeavor. Xiao Fan wasn't worried at all about what role they could play. It would be good if they didn't cause trouble for Hua Orange. Oh, there's still 2 days left. Time passes quickly. Xiao Fan relaxed and waited for the harvest. In the lecturer's office, Hua Orange was a bit disappointed. Her efforts were not effective, and this was a big blow to her. Wrapping the pen around her hand, Hua Orange wondered what else she could do. Ms. Hua, your student is looking for you. A reminder came from outside the door. Hua Orange opened the door and saw Zhang Yang's trio, who were a bit formal. A puzzled look appeared on her face. You guys are looking for me for something. Zhang Yang and the others looked at Ms. Hua, the goddess of their hearts, with an excited expression. Well, Teacher Hua, we have some ideas we want to talk to you about. Come in. A few people entered the office, and casually conversed for a few moments. What? You guys manage the Dafang bookstore? Which online store is Xiao Fan the owner of? You're selling history books now? Hua Orange looked dumbfounded at the few people. The news she received was surprising. Chapter 11, the situation is great. Hua Orange secretly gritted her teeth. The last time she tried to thank the owner of this bookstore, she was simply rejected. She was still a bit chagrined, not realizing that it would be one of her students. At the same time, she was annoyed and worried about the news she had gotten. It wasn't easy for Xiao Fan to start a business during college. Xiao Fan's store had hoarded 100,000 or so history books, and that was the reason Hua Orange was worried. As you all know, I asked the school for instructions. The head teacher and the director of the education bureau, Mr. Wang, are very supportive of me, but the citizens aren't interested. Hua Orange told her troubles. Zhang Yang and the others pondered for a while and said in unison, Ms. Hua, You're going the wrong way with the support of the school and the education bureau. Traditional persuasion will not get anyone's attention, and quiz competitions for college students are too limited. The glint of wisdom in Zhang Yang's gaze was as if he was incarnated as a master who was pointing out the way. Oh, what good ideas do you guys have? Hua Orange looked at the trio expectantly. Start with children. Good results are guaranteed. Zhang Yang's trio spoke in unison, full of confidence. Hua Orange's eyes lit up and clapped her hands. Not bad. Why didn't I think of that? I'll go and do it right now. Hua Orange was about to go out in a flurry of wind, and seeing that Zhang Yang and the others didn't move, she asked curiously, what else do you guys have to do? He. Zhang Yang and the three of them were all fawning. Mr. Hua, recommend our store when the time comes. Got it. Hua Orange said without any good humor and directly went out to do her business. Zhang Yang and the three of them went back to the dormitory with an excited look on their faces. How did you guys come back so quickly? Xiao Fan was a bit surprised to see the three of them coming back so quickly. Zhang Yang's trio hemmed and hawed, showing off. Brother Fan, you don't have to worry about the store's turnover. We've given Hua quite a few ideas. Once it's done, you'll just wait for the orders to explode. Xiao Fan sniffed in complete disbelief. What kind of goods are the three of them? Is he not clear about it? With them, what good ideas could they come up with? However, one couldn't discourage them either. Not bad, keep up the good work. With a bland compliment, Xiao Fan leaned back and lay down. Zhang Yang and the others looked at each other, secretly sighing in their hearts. Brother Fan deserves to be Brother Fan. He probably thought of it long ago by ear. Inadvertently, the content of the flyers that Hua Orange and the others distributed changed, and they also specialized in distributing them to housewives. The contents of the flyers provoked their hearts one by one. Let your child win at the starting line. Reading history makes you smart. If you want your child to know manners, go to the history reading. Participate in the competition. The child's promotion to higher education is more secure. At the same time, the Education Bureau has also issued a document calling on parents and schools to focus on learning history. To say who cares more about the child's growth, it must be the child's mother. Hey, have you read history, can develop the child's intelligence. Not so good. I heard that you can also let the child know manners. My child is too skinny. No, I have to buy him a few history books to see. Well, if you learn history well, you can take part in competitions, and I heard that the winning certificates are very helpful for further education. The housewives were happy to share that the concept of reading history books being good for children had spread in Juku City without any notice, and it had a tendency to spread to the neighborhood. Hua Orange's video attention soared, and more housewives began to leave comments. Teacher Hua, you're right, my kid hugs his phone and plays games when he gets home. Decided, let him read history books from now on. Well, my decision is the same. There's just one thing, after running to several stores, there are no history books. That's right, when I didn't pay attention in the past, I could often see it, but now that I need it, I can't find it. This is what Xiao Fan saw in the Hua Orange video message area after he got up. It gave him a good scare. Fear not. It's not like these people know that all the history books on the market have been bought by me. As long as they aren't exposed, it's fine. Patting his chest, Xiao Fan comforted himself. Glancing at the system page, Xiao Fan's nervousness eased. Settlement time, 10 hours later. Already at the last day, Xiao Fan nervously paid attention. Knock knock. Someone Xiao Fan was following had updated their notes. Pulling out his cell phone and taking a look, Xiao Fan's heart thumped. The new China bookstore page was updated with a note. The bookstore manager apologized and declared, customers, the store's history books have long been sold out, so if you have a need, you can go to the URL below. There was a URL at the bottom of the page. Xiao Fan clicked on it somewhat woodenly, and sure enough, he arrived at his own online store. To finish, Xiao Fan's eyes went black and he felt bad. With apprehension, he opened the online store page and accidentally found that the turnover was not much, just the message side was more lively. Tap it and check it out. A broken history book. Want 25. Why don't you go rob? Before all $10 a book. The owner of the store, a little evil blackheart, gone. And not his family sells history books. The situation competition unexpectedly let Xiao Fan surprise. Many people came in and only looked but didn't buy. The reason was that the price of the book set by Xiao Fan was too high, and no one wanted to be the wrongdoer. Xiao Fan hemmed and hawed and secretly praised himself for his preparation. Fortunately, the price was very high. Otherwise, this time it would be over again. If he had known that this would happen, he would have set the price even higher. Unfortunately, in this regard, the system had restrictions. It can't be too much different than the average price. The time for settlement was running out, and Xiao Fan was also more concerned about the situation of the online store. Looking at it twice from time to time. Ding! Xiao Fan's account focusing on Mr. Hua's account had a movement. Babies, I've gotten word that the city's history books are understocked. Anyone who wants to buy history books can check out this URL. Hua Orange received feedback that it was a bit difficult for the crowd to buy history books. Thinking of the online store that Xiao Fan had set up and wanting to help him, he left the address inside his dynamic. Xiao Fan's face changed and he simply wanted to curse his mother. Who let you meddle? I begged that no one would pay attention to it. Last time, it was Hua Orange's reason that made people notice his store, causing him to lose a large amount of money. This time again, Hua Orange, are you my nemesis? The netizens who were following Hua Orange received this notification and clicked to take a look and follow the trolls. Miss, the owner of this online store is too greedy, and the pricing is a bit too high. Yes, baby Hua, my wife ordered me to buy a few history books for my child. This price is too expensive. If I buy it, my personal money will be spent dry. Strongly suggest the store owner to lower the price, otherwise I won't buy it. Hua Orange noticed the emotions of the crowd and opened the bookstore's webpage to have a look. The corner of her mouth also grinned. She just wanted to help Xiao Fan out and didn't look at the pricing, but now that she looked at it, it was indeed a bit high. It was probably because Xiao Fan had just started his business and wasn't too clear about the doorways. I'll just help you out again. After all, it's my own student. Chapter 12, finished again. Well, just do it. As a teacher who was responsible for her students, Hua Orange felt that she did the right thing. Babies, I've checked. That bookstore is newly opened by one of my students' business venture. I guess I don't know the market yet. Please understand. Updating her dynamics, Hua Orange decided to pay more attention to Xiao Fan in the future. After all, she was the first of her students to start a business. He himself could still provide a little help when necessary. Oh, so it's baby Hua's student. Support. It's too hard for a college student to start a business. Decided. This month's private money don't want. Right as a support. Xiao Fan looked at the crowd that had made a 180-degree turn and was dumbfounded. Toxic. It was determined that Hua Orange was indeed toxic. The original tattooed trading volume slowly began to increase. Overall, the trading volume was still small. Xiao Fan tensed up for a moment and sighed in relief somewhat thankfully. Among the people who were concerned about Hua Orange, those who needed to buy history books were only a few hundred at most, so this transaction volume was nothing. It was only a few points of income at the top for himself, secretly wiping away a cold sweat. Looking at the settlement time on the system page, Xiao Fan felt like a year. Hurry up, a little faster. Xiao Fan couldn't wait to give the hands of the clock a boost, expecting time to pass earlier, but he seemed to have forgotten that this was the information age. As a character who had just created a hotspot, Hua Orange's every move was watched by someone, especially since the university and the education bureau were jointly facilitating the event. The news media was instantly energized. After all, it was an activity that promoted traditional history and was full of positive energy, so they didn't skimp on reporting on it. By the way, the address of Xiao Fan's online store was reported. Now, everyone in the city knew that if they wanted to buy history books, they could only go to Xiao Fan's store, which was the most complete. Some foreign students, who were themselves interested in Chinese history, just happened to have foreign language versions in the online store and competed to buy them. As one book decreased, the housewives who were still watching panicked. Hurry up and buy it. I heard that the stock is running low. Buy it early and let your kids gain early. It was not known who left such a sentence, which directly ignited their shopping passion. All kinds of buying. In a flash, the inventory was directly emptied. The changes came so fast that Xiao Fan's mind was confused. What the hell is going on? Is it stupid that someone is buying at such a high price? Xiao Fan wanted to point at the buyer's head and curse. I just want to lose some money. Why is it so difficult? Usually do not see themselves have such a good life. Buy a lottery ticket and not win. Xiao Fan slipped helplessly onto the bed, his eyes empty. Finished, more than $400,000, and he has no chance. Glancing at the system interface, disposable amount, 0, net profit, 444,665, estimated personal funds, 6,980.88, settlement time, 2 hours later. Ding, Hua Orange sent a message. Xiao Fan, sold out, right? Remember to thank teacher. It was estimated that she had been paying attention to the information of Xiao Fan's store, and when she saw that the inventory was sold out, that's why she sent it over to boast about the credit. Xiao Fan somewhat wanted to curse. However, people did care about themselves after all. With bitterness, Xiao Fan could only swallow it in his stomach. Hey, by the way, how did she know that the store was her own? It was probably Zhang Yang, this big mouth, who told Hua Orange. Since it was already like this, further anger would not help. Xiao Fan just wanted to know how Hua Orange launched the housewife. Ha ha, brother Fan, have you seen it? All the books in our online store are sold out. Zhang Yang laughed and rushed into the dormitory, reporting the good news to Xiao Fan with a happy face. Well, thanks to Zhang Yang this time. Otherwise, how could Mr. Hua not have thought of the trick of mobilizing housewives? The other two chimed in to praise Zhang Yang, feeling that he had made a great achievement. Xiao Fan's eyes glared. What? Did Zhang Yang come up with this idea? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let him go to Hua Orange. Well, you guys did a good job. After praising the trio against his will, Xiao Fan just wanted to be quiet. Brother Fan, look, our online store has 450,000 people following it, and it's even on the recommended list, so it'll be easier to sell things in the future. Zhang Yang clicked on the page of the online store with a happy face. Xiao Fan took a look and his veins exploded a little. Message 99 plus. Number of followers, 450,000. No, the virtual online store was too easily influenced by others. It seems like he must change his mindset. If the virtual one doesn't work, I'll get a physical one. I don't believe you. Hua Orange can still make things happen. Right, that's how I'll do it next time. With his mind made up, Xiao Fan began to lie down. Since he couldn't rebel against life, he would enjoy lying down. With more than $400,000 less income, Xiao Fan's heart ached and his liver hurt. But, truly speaking, he had still earned it. After all, there was still a few $1,000s of consolation prize. 2 hours later, the system settled, and Xiao Fan didn't even have the heart to look at it. Brother Fan, take a look. How much did you earn this time? Zhang Yang and the others were incredibly keen on how much money people had earned, and surrounded Xiao Fan to urge him on. Not much, just over $400,000. Unable to argue with them, Xiao Fan somewhat disgustedly reported the profit. Hiss, doesn't it mean that you have almost $500,000 now? Zhang Yang rubbed his teeth and was envious. After all, both are poor students. Why are you so good? Let's continue selling books. I feel that if we sell them one more time, maybe you'll double your assets. Brother Fan, Zhang Yang and the others suggested with glowing eyes. It was too easy to make money by following Xiao Fan, and it messed with their heads a bit. What? Still selling? Don't even think about it. Looking at the profit of more than $400,000 on it, Xiao Fan was a bit greedy. Unfortunately, being able to look at it and not be able to use it made people angry. No, I don't want to sell books. I'm going to open a store. Open a store? What kind of store? Zhang Yang and the others were confused, not little knowing what Xiao Fan was going to do. Of course it's a bookstore. Zhang Yang and the others frowned a little. Now that the internet is incredibly developed, people have long been accustomed to reading ebooks. Who would still want to go to a physical store to buy and sell physical books? Before, old books and history books were able to sell out. One is that the quantity is small and hunted. One is that students are the main body. They need to use paper books. But to open a bookstore, the people facing it are social people, but not many people are willing to visit a bookstore. Brother Fan, I have to remind you that opening a bookstore at the moment is definitely a money-losing business. It can't be done. The other two roommates also nodded their heads in agreement with Zhang Yang's judgment. Lose money? It's good to lose money. Xiao Fan couldn't help but say what was on his mind. It caused the trio to look at him strangely. Cough. I mean to say, just because of losing money, so many famous big bookstores have closed down now. People go out and can no longer find a place to relax and read. Libraries are too serious and don't have an atmosphere of their own. That's the reason I'm going to open a bookstore. Xiao Fan spoke in a righteous manner, looking like he was thinking of the masses. Chapter 13, Not Admitting Defeat. Zhang Yang and the others still couldn't understand. What about this online store? Pointing to the online store page, Zhang Yang asked in doubt. Hey, that's good. I'm going to let you manage this online store, sort of an online store manager, and give you a monthly salary of 3,000 in the future. How's that? Want to do it? Zhang Yang sniffed and was heartened. As for the two of you, work as assistants for Zhang Yang for 2,500 a month. Since Xiao Fan was not willing to be dabbling in the online bookstore, simply, directly let Zhang Yang manage it. When the time comes, just find some random books and consider it a product. It's a steady loss. Maybe, probably, with the three of them minding the online store, they themselves would also be good to invest in physical bookstores and lose money as soon as possible. Alright, it's a deal. Not waiting for them to push back, Xiao Fan directly made a decision. Zhang Yang, let's. The other two roommates looked at Zhang Yang with hesitant eyes. Okay, I promise. Right this time. Xiao Fan happily patted Zhang Yang's shoulder. Brother Fan, don't worry. I will definitely work hard and try not to let the online store lose money. Also, I need to find a few people who know what they are doing and help Brother Fan plan for it. Zhang Yang secretly decided in his heart. Since Xiao Fan trusted himself so much, he couldn't let Xiao Fan down. On the other hand, The history reading craze led by Hua Orange was getting more and more intense, causing the provincial education department to pay attention to it. This is the matter. As a typical, the media reported hard. Mingshan University is famous. Xiao Fan's online store also followed a wind. Some people were curious to click in and couldn't help but spit. A bookstore that sold books actually didn't have a single book on the shelves. This was also really strange. This matter gradually spread, and many people began to pay attention to this online store. Even, they competed to guess when the books would be on what type. These all became their fun. On the other hand, her own proposal was well received by everyone. Hua Orange was happy in her heart. The school leaders were also praised by their superiors and increased their support for Hua Orange even more. Teacher Hua, in the future, if you have any requests, just mention them to the school, and you are guaranteed to get what you want. Thinking of the leader's promise today, Hua Orange couldn't help but type out a hee giggle. Ding! The cell phone rang. Hua Orange glanced at the number and frowned. Hey, Susan Longzi, what are you looking for me for? He, Orange, I saw that you're famous. Oh, I'm going to find you to have some fun. A flirty voice came out from the phone. Hua Orange was disgusted. Don't come to me. Hang up. Hua Orange didn't want to say more and directly hung up the phone. I don't know how Xiao Fan's business is going. It should be good. As a responsible teacher, she decided it was better to pay some attention. The next day, history class. Hua Orange glanced at Xiao Fan's empty seat and frowned. After class, she found Zhang Yang and inquired. Zhang Yang told the truth. Hua Orange felt confused. You mean, he's going to open a bookstore? Going out to look for a location at this time? Yeah, he just decided all of a sudden. I can't figure out what he's going to do. Mr. Hua, do you have any professionals there who can help Xiao Fan plan for it? Zhang Yang requested. He was really unwilling for Xiao Fan to fall on his face. Well, I'll consider this matter. Hua Orange nodded her head, but she was muttering in her heart. Opening a bookstore? What kind of joke is this? Is there a bookstore now? Xiao Fan did not know about their bellyaching and was wandering around outside the school alone. I'll go straight for the entity. I don't believe I can't lose money. A glance at the system page. The lost mood was revitalized. Host, Xiao Fan. Disposable funds, 600,000. Virtual asset, generous operation bookstore. Personal funds, 6,980.88. TSK, my available investment amount has reached 600,000. I'll try to lose it all this time. By then, I'll be a little rich. What? Struggling with 40,000. 300,000? That person is me? If you want to make money, you should be more generous. Directly to a doubling. It does not smell? With a silly smile on his face, Xiao Fan secretly longed in his heart. It was only when the passers-by avoided in disgust that Xiao Fan reacted. Blushing, he lowered his head and continued to look for the desired store location. There is a house for rent here. Ask about it. What's that? The location is perfect, and the transfer fee is $45,000. That's too cheap. Find another one. What's that? High traffic flow? Good business? What kind of business do I want? Scratch that. After spending most of the day, Xiao Fan couldn't find a suitable store. Forget it. Go back first. There's no rush anyway. Must find a place that's both remote and expensive in terms of rent. Sure went back to the dormitory. The three of them, Zhang Yang, were muttering in low voices. Zhang Yang, what are you guys doing? Xiao Fan asked curiously. We're discussing how to make the online store better. This is the rectification we discussed. Take a look. Zhang Yang scratched his head and handed Xiao Fan a paper. They are still doing a good job. Xiao Fan quickly scanned the document and found that there were not many changes. The most costly thing was that they were going to ask the senior of the computer department to personally redesign the page. Xiao Fan smiled in his heart. No matter how good the website page was, it could not generate revenue and would definitely lose money. Wasn't this what he wanted? You guys are only going to give $1,500 for asking senior to modify the page? This is too stingy. No, double it and give 3,000. When Zhang Yang and the others heard this, they became a bit anxious. Brother Fan, it doesn't take that much, just 1,500. That's enough. Xiao Fan's eyes glared. After troubling senior for a bit, how can we not be petty? It's settled. Zhang Yang and the others could only nod their heads in agreement when they saw Xiao Fan's attitude was so resolute. Also, the three of you are also my employees now. You can't be treated poorly. One person, one laptop. Pay attention to rest. Don't be too tired. Zhang Yang's trio was touched and felt that following Xiao Fan was too good. Thanks, Brother Fan. Xiao Fan lay down, secretly happy in his heart. Hey, another expenditure of more than 10,000. Still can't get it back. These are all my money. If it wasn't for the fact that fixed assets couldn't account for more than 15% of the amount invested, Xiao Fan was planning to buy real estate for all of them. When the time comes, buy a few rotten buildings, then the money won't keep flowing into his pocket. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I still have to continue to look for a suitable store tomorrow. I hope I can give myself a surprise. Holding such expectations, Xiao Fan huffed and puffed as he slept. On the other side, Hua Orange listened to the introduction of Zhang Yang's trio and thought that it would be better to help Xiao Fan find a professional investment consultant. It just so happened that she knew one in this school. After class in the afternoon, she came over to pay a visit. Senior brother Jiang, these are Xiao Fan's 2 investments. See if you have any problems? Hua Orange labeled both of Xiao Fan's investment goals clearly, but did not indicate the results. Jiang Jun was a doctorate in investment studies, and with a quick glance, he found the problem. Chapter 14 Riddling Investment Practices. That's the investment of your students' 2 strokes? How much did you lose? Jiang Jun skimmed his mouth and asked bluntly. According to his vision, he could tell at a glance that there was something wrong with Xiao Fan's 2 investments. Hua Orange heard this and asked with a derisive face. Oh, senior brother Jiang, how did you see it? Normally, this senior brother Jiang was very conceited and often spat on the investment projects of some well-known investors. This made him offend a lot of people after his work, and he had no choice but to do so, which led him back to teaching at the school. Hua Orange knew about the proceeds of Xiao Fan's 2 investments, and now pretended to ask about it, just to see the embarrassment of this conceited senior brother. Look at the projects he chose for these 2 investments. Jiang Jun patted the document in disgust. An online store? Nowadays, a new online store doesn't have 1 million, but also 1 million or 800,000. Then look at the items he chose. What the hell is an old book? Also history books. Oh, recently learning history seems to have a little attention. I guess it did not sell a few books, right? Jiang Jun confidently spoke his judgment. Glancing at Hua Orange, Jiang Jun said disdainfully, Senior sister Hua, let that student of yours change his profession. He is not suitable for business. Hua Orange held back her laughter and silently handed over another document. Senior brother Jiang, this is the return on his 2 investments. You, take a look? Cocking her head, she looked at Jiang Jun with a smile, her good-looking eyes narrowing into a crescent moon. With a beautiful woman looking at him like this, how could Jiang Jun possibly refuse? Enduring his dislike, he opened the file. Immediately, his face flushed red, his eyes struggled wide, and he huffed and puffed in his nose. Impossible. How is it possible? The records in the document were completely different from his own judgment. How could Jiang Jun believe it? Senior brother Jiang, this is true. Oh, giggle. Finally seeing the long-awaited embarrassing appearance of his senior brother, Hua Orange unkindly giggled and bent over. Jiang Jun's face twitched. He also knew the bad character of his junior sister and could only suffer helplessly. However, he was more curious, and when he encountered such an unorthodox investment situation, he of course had to figure out the reasoning behind it. When Hua Orange finished laughing, he didn't care about the embarrassment and asked after her in a loud voice. What's going on? Tell me about it. Hua Orange put away her laughter and said in a serious manner. Senior brother Jiang, I am not very clear. If you want to figure it out, you can follow me to find Xiao Fan. Although he knew that Hua Orange had her own agenda, Jiang Jun did not refuse. Led by Hua Orange, the 2 went to Xiao Fan's dormitory one after the other. The school's well-known beautiful teacher entered the boys' dormitory, instantly setting off the entire dormitory building. All the boys, those who wore suits, and those who wore hairspray, in order to leave a good impression on the beautiful teacher. Hello, Mr. Hua. A continuous stream of greetings, all for the sake of a hello, from the beautiful teacher. Even this could make the boys excited for half a day. Jiang Jun followed behind, his face expressionless. There was no room for love in his heart. Brother Fan, hurry up. Mr. Hua is coming to the boys' dormitory. In the dormitory, Zhang Yang was putting clothes on his body with an excited face, and when he saw Xiao Fan not even moving, he quickly reminded him, just come, what's the big deal? Xiao Fan skimmed his mouth. He didn't want to see Hua Orange. Both of his own money-making plans were ruined by her, and he still expected a good face. Don't even think about it. Seeing Xiao Fan's indifference, Zhang Yang stopped shouting at him and left the dormitory on his own. Xiao Fan was woken up and stopped lying down. He got up and sat down, and considered how to choose the location of the bookstore. No, we still need to find someone who knows what they're doing. It's too troublesome to look for it on your own, and it's also too tiring. Subconsciously, he glanced at the system page. Settlement time, 3 months later. One had to hurry up. Opening a new bookstore was not something that could be gotten right in a short period of time. Brother Fan, look who's here. While thinking about things, Zhang Yang pushed the door in with a mysterious smile on his face. It's none of my business who's here. Xiao Fan didn't even lift his head and directly replied back. Hua Orange gritted her teeth in anger. She had gone through so much trouble, not for Xiao Fan's good, but he actually did not appreciate it. Student Xiao Fan, it's me. However, in order to maintain her teacher's demeanor, Hua Orange still spoke in a pleasant manner. Hearing Hua Orange's voice, Xiao Fan was a little surprised. He did not have a relationship with Hua Orange, and truly speaking, Hua Orange was still considered his nemesis. His face stiffened before Xiao Fan got up, squeezed out a little smile, and greeted Hua Orange. Hua Orange was furious in her heart. However, today she came over for some business, so she spared him for once, but without waiting for her introduction. Jiang Jun couldn't help but push forward. With a pop, he slapped the document in his hand on the table. Can you tell me the basis of your 2 investments? After saying this, he stared straight at Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan skimmed a glance. Yo, quite detailed This information can only come from loudmouth Zhang Yang. Glaring at him, Zhang Yang scratched his head and giggled. Jiang Jun saw Xiao Fan's reaction and suppressed his anger, pointing at the 2 documents on the table and asked, I noticed that these 2 investments of yours are not considered to be brilliant, but what makes me curious is how did you manage to make both of them catch up with the fortuitous things, and made a very high profit from them? Mentioning profit, Xiao Fan was filled with resentment. Who wants profit anymore? What I want is loss. It's all intuition. Xiao Fan gave a perfunctory sentence without any good humor. A flash of anger surfaced on Jiang Jun's face, feeling that Xiao Fan was fooling himself. What the hell was intuition? Xiao Fan, senior brother Jiang is an investment counselor. You can ask him if you have any questions about investment. Hua Orange saw that the 2 were about to fall out and hurriedly introduced Jiang Jun's identity. Xiao Fan became interested at the words. After sizing up Jiang Jun for a few moments, his heart moved. He was not having a headache in choosing the location of the bookstore, so he asked to try. Are you an investment counselor? Of course. That's good. I'm planning to choose a bookstore location. Will you help me introduce a few? Simple enough. However, I have to remind you that opening a bookstore now, it's all or nothing. That's even better. Xiao Fan listened to the words of the professional investor, and his heart became more grounded. Let's do it this way. I'll hire you to be the investment consultant of our generous company, specializing in cooperating with me to select the investment direction. How about it? Want to come? It was easy to come across a person who knew how to invest. In order to avoid the money-making industry for his future investment, Xiao Fan felt that he needed such an investment consultant. I'm a university professor. $10,000 a month. I can work today. Suitable store locations. I'll organize them right away. Hua Orange's eyes glared. Was this still the arrogant senior brother Jiang he remembered? Jiang Jun, arrogant? Only giving me a little bit of salary. Of course I'm arrogant. Chapter 15, Making a Generous Hand. Ha ha, welcome aboard. Seeing Jiang Jun agree, Xiao Fan laughed and shook his hand. In the future, the location of the bookstore, the personnel and also the operation, can all be left to you. Jiang Jun was a bit dumbfounded at the words. It was quite reasonable to hand over the location of the store to himself, but personnel and operation, aren't these the rights that the boss has to hold tightly in his hands? Mastering the personnel, this is a chance to overthrow the boss. Mastering the operation, there is also the opportunity to go up and down. Xiao Fan had handed over such an important duty to himself all at once, showing the importance he placed on himself. Although it seemed a bit hokey, he was unexpectedly flattered. However, as a responsible investment advisor, he still reminded, boss, the right of personnel and operation. It's better for the boss to personally grasp it. Otherwise, it's easy to cause extra expenses, affecting profits and causing losses. Xiao Fan was overjoyed at the words. Losses are good. One can't wait for it. It's fine. I'm very relieved to leave it to you. Jiang Jun instantly felt what was meant by treating him as a nationalist. Since Xiao Fan believed in himself so much, how could he not let his boss down? Thinking about the previous difficulties he had received when he first worked on the matter, and then looking at Xiao Fan's attitude now, Jiang Jun felt that he had found the bright master. Yes, boss, don't worry. I will definitely work hard and strive to open the bookstore as soon as possible and make a profit as early as possible. No rush, just take your time. Listen, this is the boss who does great things. Senior Sister Hua. This time, thank you for introducing me to the boss and letting me find the opportunity to realize my own ambitions. Jiang Jun gratefully thanked Hua Orange. Hua Orange was dumbfounded. Where am I? What happened? He only wanted to give Xiao Fan a little help. How come the arrogant senior brother Jiang was scooped up in a few words? A salary of 10,000 in January. One is also envious. It's good to be able to help senior brother Jiang. Pulling the corner of her mouth, Hua Orange smiled back. Since his purpose had been achieved, the process was a bit weird, but it was still a happy occasion for all. Hua Orange didn't want to stay any longer. After all, being stared at by so many animals made her a little uncomfortable. Her departure made the boys in the dormitory building feel a little sorry for her and gradually dispersed. It was just that some of them were also interested in Xiao Fan. 504 dormitory. Zhang Yang smiled and greeted Zhang Jun. I'm Zhang Yang, responsible for generously running the bookstore. We'll have to cooperate in the future. When Zhang Jun heard this, he knew that he was in charge of that online store and he was in charge of the physical bookstore, so he really needed to use Zhang Yang. Moreover, he was a new employee, so how could he not have a good relationship with his old staff? Good day, Manager Zhang. Take care of me in the future. Xiao Fan was in a good mood when he saw that several people were getting along well. Manager Jiang, you seize the time to choose a good location for the store, rent it as soon as possible, recruit a decoration company, and get the bookstore done. As for Zhang Yang, let me take a look at the page design of your online store when it's done. Now, to celebrate, let's go have a big meal. Xiao Fan waved his hand and greeted the 4 people with great bravado. In the name of congratulating the new employees, Xiao Fan tried to see if the system would stop it. A line silently surfaced. The amount of consumption in the name of the company shall not exceed 10% of the disposable funds. 10%. That's $60,000 of available credit. How long had it been since he himself had been down to the restaurant? This time he had to have a good meal. Zhang Yang and the others were about the same. Of course they would not oppose Xiao Fan's proposal. A group of 5 people, killed to the neighborhood of Mingshan University, the most famous Chaojia cuisine. Brother Fan, we've long coveted this restaurant for a long time. I heard that the Chao family cuisine here is quite famous. This time we are blessed. Zhang Yang introduced the place in a low voice, not forgetting to swallow his saliva, obviously craving for a long time. Well, this place has 8 treasures rice, unicorn abalone rice, turtle ginseng boiled pork waste, and turtle skirt dotted red are quite good. Zhang Jun tried to put on a bashful demeanor, but the knots in his throat kept shrugging. Xiao Fan was also filled with saliva by their words. How could he miss such an opportunity since it increased his expenses and satisfied his appetite? All of the above come in one portion. In addition, we reserve 4 portions and take them away when we leave. We can't enjoy it ourselves. Take the 4 reservations with you when you leave, and let your friends and family try it as well. After instructing the waiter, Xiao Fan and the others waited for the meal to start. After hearing this, Zhang Yang's gratitude filled his body. With such a generous boss, how could they not work hard? A big meal was eaten with their mouths overflowing with flavor, and they were satisfied beyond measure. Xiao Fan glanced at the funds that had been reduced by more than $8,000 and was in a happy mood. Early the next morning, Xiao Fan woke up in a daze. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw several pairs of blood-red eyes, which scared Xiao Fan. Taking a closer look, he asked without a good mood, Zhang Yang, Zhang Jun, what are you guys doing surrounding me in the morning? Scare me. Brother Fan, the online store design is ready. We rushed it out overnight. Zhang Yang stared with a pair of red eyes and excitedly flaunted at Xiao Fan. Oh, then take a look. Xiao Fan was unimpressed. How good could a page designed by school students be? But he just didn't want to refute Zhang Yang's face to them. This is made by our school's seniors? How come it's so exquisite? No wonder Xiao Fan was surprised. The new page that had been changed was refreshing, clean, soft, and a little festive. It was even better than the pages of some big companies. Right, I feel good too. We found the right person this time. Seeing that Xiao Fan was satisfied, Zhang Yang was satisfied in his heart. Well, I'm very satisfied with this page modification. The pay of 3,000 is low. Zhang Yang, you will later send 2,000 to the senior, to make up 5,000. This is only for the hard work of others. Xiao Fan happily ordered Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang's face was stagnant. It was the first time he had seen someone doing business like this, actually disliking himself for giving less. Isn't this too generous? Zhang Yang hesitated and admonished. That's because seniors' work is worth this price. We might as well be generous. Think about it. You worked hard to make something. If you sell it for less, wouldn't your heart be uncomfortable? Xiao Fan explained impatiently. Zhang Yang thought about it and nodded in agreement, realizing that Xiao Fan had a good point. Okay, I will go later. Xiao Fan was also secretly pleased in his heart. The more he spent now, the more he would win when the time came. Glancing at the system page, Xiao Fan was secretly pleased with his own resourcefulness. Host, Xiao Fan. Disposable funds, 569,000. Loss, 31,000. Settlement time, 2 months 28 days. Zhang Jun was also stunned by Zhang Feng's operation, but after hearing Xiao Fan's explanation, his heart was filled with admiration. But it is not how. He is not to see the boss so generous. This is decisive to defect. Chapter 16, the boss who likes to delegate power. Boss, this is the information I've collected on the various rental stores. Seeing that Zhang Yang had finished his report, Zhang Jun hurriedly handed Xiao Fan the information of the stores that he had stayed up all night to organize. Xiao Fan took it without even looking at it and directly said, Brother Jiang, I believe in your vision. You will tell me the most suitable store locations and the worst ones. Jiang Jun heard Xiao Fan call his brother. His heart gave a jolt and a warm current surged through his body. Boss, you are welcome. I will introduce it to you. What do you think of this place? Right next to the university, or an intersection, with a large flow of people, or mainly the student population. The business is definitely not bad. The first location was the one Jiang Jun thought was the most suitable, so he focused on introducing this place. Good business? No way. I'm prepared to lose money. How can business be good? Introduce the others. Jiang Jun's heart tightened. The boss didn't agree? What's going on? Was there something that he had overlooked? However, this was not the time to ask questions. He pressed down his doubts and continued in the order. Soon, Jiang Jun was sweating profusely. The boss actually couldn't see any of the ones he had favored. Xiao Fan also saw Jiang Jun's dilemma. Honestly, his level was really not covered. A normal businessman, following his choice was absolutely right. But Xiao Fan was different. He wanted to lose money and could only do the opposite. Which one has the worst conditions? Xiao Fan simply asked directly. This one. Jiang Jun turned over the bottom page of information. This store for rent is located in the old city center, Locust Tree Lane, with very little foot traffic in the vicinity, and with the most retirees. In addition, the landlord wants the highest rent. Once Xiao Fan heard this, he immediately clapped his hands. Alright, no need to introduce the others. Just this one, you go and talk to the landlord. Jiang Jun's face was a bit dumbfounded after hearing this. Did he not express himself to understand and let the boss hear stubble? What? How did he end up choosing such a place? He was just about to argue, but was pulled back by Zhang Yang. Manager Jiang, let me tell you, our brother Fan not the usual way, but his vision is really accurate. You see the first two investments. We have earned a plate full of pots and pans. Zhang Yang's compliments made Xiao Fan very comfortable. Only when he heard the word earn, his face darkened. With two investments, he got his own personal funds, which was not as high as Zhang Yang's salary. How could this make Xiao Fan willing? Is that so? Jiang Jun nodded suspiciously, considered reluctantly agreeing. Very well, since you all agree, then go and do something. After saying that, Xiao Fan carried his hands behind his back and leisurely left the dormitory. The feeling of giving orders was really great. I decided that in the future, I would leave everything to my subordinates, and I would only care about spending money. As long as he grasped the direction, he did not believe that he could not lose money. Hey, there's movement in the generously run bookstore. Zhang Yang's site had just put up the revamped online store when the people who were following this online store received a beep. Other than the page changed, how come the rest is still the same? Isn't he an online bookstore? Why isn't he selling anything? Netizen nothing to do, just play. Egg's message said, hey, this is only interesting. Don't you guys think that what this store is doing, May is surprising? Should we guess what they're going to put on the shelves next time? Little Richie Rich snapped and left 2 sentences. Nonsense. What else could it be if not books? Dare to bet? I'll bet. What's the bet? Just guess what they'll update next time. If you guess wrong, all the stuff on the shelves will be gone. Dare you bet? I'll bet. Everyone, be a witness. Yes, plus $630,000. Without realizing it, the number of people following the online store had reached the point of 630,000 people. Fortunately, Xiao Fan pulled out in time. Wei Yuan, who was a senior computer science graduate, was in an unusual state of distress. Graduating and looking for a job was a tough choice for him. Nowadays, there are more college students and they are worthless. Employers that are hard to downward pressure on wages. He looked for a number of jobs, did not find a preferred. The cost of living on the body is also almost spent. Fortunately, he took a private work, gave $3,000. He was also holding the idea of doing one last piece of work from his school days, and spent a lot of effort to do his best. There was no telling if the company that commissioned it was satisfied or not. Ding bell. He idly picked up and listened to Zhang Yang's words with a dumbfounded look on his face. Not much later, Zhang Yang arrived. Senior Zhang, you say it's true? Is it true that your boss ordered to give me a supplement of $2,000? Wei Yuan asked curiously. Of course, I brought all the money. How can this be fake? A stack of red bills slapped in his hand. Wei Yuan couldn't help but ask fawningly. Senior Zhang, do you still need people in your company? Jiang Jun followed Xiao Fan's instructions and went directly to whichever landlord on Locust Street to discuss rental matters. Located in the old city center, the ones who stayed here in addition to the left-behind children were some retirees. On the street, there aren't many, and it looks a bit desolate. I really don't know why the owner would look at this place. There is no one to open a bookstore. Can this work? Jiang Jun felt that Xiao Fan had missed a trick this time. However, it's better to settle down and talk about it. After all, it's the boss's order. The landlord was a retired university professor named Lin Chengdong. You are planning to rent my store? Professor Lin sized up Jiang Jun and seemed to be disgusted. Ha, right. First things first, I have some old neighbors here, so you can't open a bar or entertainment business if you rent it. Jiang Jun almost twisted his head away when he heard this. On this broken road, someone rents it and you're just happy. There are still so many requirements. However, remembering the boss's command, he still nodded his head and said, can I see the house? Professor Lin was a little surprised, not expecting such harsh conditions, but also someone agreed. Follow me. Following Professor Lin into the door, the rental place made Jiang Jun a little turn surprised. This place was said to be a store, rather than a courtyard. The courtyard was large, and the partitions inside were planted with bamboo cultivation, flowers, and a rockery with flowing water. A small path led to the backyard, passing by a few pavilions. In the backyard were several small buildings, and this should be the stores. A total of 5 small buildings. I'll charge you $50,000 a year. Not too expensive, right? Professor Lin glanced at Jiang Jun and asked expressionlessly. It's fine. Jiang Jun directly signed the agreement. This place looked good, but running a bookstore, it was a bit of a mismatch. With apprehension, Jiang Jun found Xiao Fan and told him the situation. Xiao Fan was unusually pleased with what he heard and complimented. Very good. You've done a great job, bookstore manager and clerk. You watched the recruitment. Or, it's fine if you have someone familiar with them. Put up the shelves first. In addition, get the documents, business license and all of these done as well. After instructing these, Xiao Fan let go of the matter. Chapter 17 Loss of Money Talent, Have to Find a Professional. Jiang Jun glanced at Xiao Fan grudgingly, but his energy was up. After instructing Jiang Jun, Xiao Fan called the bookstore manager again and ordered a batch of books, agreeing to supply 30,000 copies every month. I am not afraid of not selling them, but I will save them up anyway, so it's better to lose money. The bookstore manager loved Xiao Fan to death. With Xiao Fan constantly buying books, his performance was better than January. Even when the leader talked to himself, he became pleasant. Boss Xiao, don't worry, I guarantee timely delivery. Xiao Fan took care of one more thing and went to class with a relaxed look. Speaking of which, Xiao Fan, he was still a student. In history class, Hua Orange looked at Xiao Fan several times. Some of them didn't understand. Wasn't he preparing to open a store? Why so leisurely? Xiao Fan also noticed Hua Orange's abnormality, but now that he was facing her, Xiao Fan wasn't worried at all. Physical bookstore. I don't believe she can still make things happen. After class, Xiao Fan was about to leave when he was stopped. Xiao Fan, come with me to the office. I have something to ask you. Xiao Fan was helpless and followed her to the office. Just as he arrived at the door of the office, he heard the giggling sounds of several female co-workers coming from inside, as well as the voice of a man with a shrill voice. Su Lang, are you telling the truth? Mr. Hua still has such embarrassing stories? Not bad. Let me tell you guys, don't look at Hua Orange as a goddess. In fact, she used to be a manly woman with a wide pipe. Su San Longzi, who let you come? Hua Orange pretty face red, anxious and panicked to push the door in, loudly rushed the white-faced youth who was bursting into action roared. Su Lang was talking high. Dota voice scared shut his mouth, sardonically laughed. This is not thinking of you? That's why I came over. Come on, you're so bored again that you don't know what to do. Right, I don't have time to entertain you even if you came. Hua Orange interrupted him in disgust, intending to just kick him out. Yo, is this your boyfriend? Nice to meet you. Su Lang grabbed Xiao Fan's hand with that warmth. The female co-workers in the office, their eyes glistened at the words, as if they had heard some unimaginable gossip. Hua Orange was furious and defended. Less nonsense. This is my student, Xiao Fan. Oh, understand. The entrepreneurial student you're talking about. Right, we're going out to play. Make yourself at home. Su Lang waved his hand carelessly and went out with Xiao Fan's shoulder. Hua Orange, where there was still any interest in talking to Xiao Fan, seeing Su Lang leave, she was relieved instead. If he continued to stay here, there was no telling what he was going to do. On the other hand, Su Lang and Xiao Fan went downstairs, and only then did he let go of his arms hugging his chest, his right hand cupping his chin, looking Xiao Fan up and down. Xiao Fan was made uncomfortable by his look and asked without any good humor, "Why are you looking at me like that? I just wondered. You're just average. How do you make Orange so attached?" "Forget it, whatever. I've decided. I'll follow you." I'll give you a job, and strive to make you step into the rich and powerful class, and marry Orange earlier. For a moment, Xiao Fan's heart really rose with this idea, then it was suppressed by him. Women and other things, which is not as important as losing money. Seeing the confident look of this Su San Longzi, he was probably very good at doing business. This had to be asked clearly. If it was true, then he resolutely did not want it. You are very good at doing business? Not at all. As a matter of fact, whatever I do, I lose money. Xiao Fan sniffed and was pleasantly surprised. Great. I'll take it. Ha, aren't you afraid that I'll lose money? This time it was Su Lang's turn to be surprised. He couldn't figure out what Xiao Fan saw in himself. I think it. You are a genius in the business world. Just haven't found a place to utilize your talent. Follow me. Meeting Su Lang brought Xiao Fan a complete surprise. He was an amateur money-losing business novice. Where could he compare to Su Lang? A professional-level person. Once he plugged him into the newly opened bookstore, was he still afraid that he would make money? Thinking of beautiful things in his heart, Xiao Fan's eyes were filled with scorching heat as he looked at Su Lang. Good. Xiao Fan, it's still you who has the vision. I've always considered myself a business genius, but there aren't many people who believe in me, and they are still thinking of ways to obstruct me. This time, I'll follow the big game, and let those who don't look up to me see who is actually the genius. Su Lang stood with his arms folded, with a look of surrender. Right, that's how you have to think. This is my newly opened store. Go find Jiang Jun. Xiao Fan egged on vigorously, taking this baby under his wing. By the way, he informed Jiang Jun. Su Lang couldn't wait to say goodbye and took a cab directly. Rushing to the bookstore, Jiang Jun looked at the flirty Su Lang in front of him with some confusion, not understanding what Xiao Fan was sending him over for. TSK, this is the place Xiao Fan chose? Taking a look at the courtyard that Xiao Fan had rented, Su Lang scanned and marveled twice. Isn't it very inappropriate? Too remote. Wrong, it's simply too suitable. Remote is better. Jiang Jun thought Su Lang had gone mad and couldn't help but retort. What's so good about choosing this place? It's not like there are any people who would want to travel this far to come over and buy books. You're just not fully understanding Xiao Fan's thoughts. Do you think this is a simple bookstore? Doesn't it? I finally know why Xiao Fan asked me to come. Do you think Xiao Fan looked for such a big place just to open a bookstore? Su Lang glanced at Jiang Jun and couldn't help but hold his temper. But what Xiao Fan said was to open a bookstore. Jiang Jun was confused by Su Lang and looked at him in confusion. Losing you as an investment expert? Haven't you seen the environment over here? This scenery, this style, how can it only be a bookstore? By the way, does Xiao Fan have any restrictions on funding? This, I didn't ask. Jiang Jun hesitated, also feeling as if he was dead in the head a bit. Let me ask. Xiao Fan has newly received a talent that does nothing and loses money. His heart is happy. The cell phone rang. After answering it and hearing Su Lang's question, Xiao Fan said with bravado, funds? Pipe enough, you can use it as you like. I probably have more than $500,000. How much do you need? You look at it. Good grin. I'll go big then. Su Lang had Xiao Fan's instructions and rubbed his fists, ready to show off his talent to the fullest. You see, Xiao Fan definitely has his purpose. It's just that we need to properly comprehend his meaning. What are you going to do? At this time, Jiang Jun had more admiration for Su Lang, thinking about Xiao Fan's two previous investments. As if he could predict the future, he could not underestimate Xiao Fan's instructions just because he was a professor. Good idea. The rented courtyard. So much space. How much space can the bookstore take up? The rest of the space we must make full use of. Chapter 18 Recruitment. Jiang Jun saw Su Lang talking his head off, and he also felt that I'm afraid this was Xiao Fan's intention. You tell us what to do. I'll listen to you. Jiang Jun exceptionally simply handed over the command. He felt that he had a good head for general direction, but he didn't have much talent for specific operations. Unlike Su Lang, he seemed to have a very good idea about specific business activities. Xiao Fan had given himself so much power, and he didn't want to let Xiao Fan down. Su Lang's face showed delight when he saw how dry Jiang Jun was. It felt like Xiao Fan's men knew too much and it was just right for him to play. This is simple. Just refer to the club's method. Let's focus on the bookstore atmosphere. It's only when we sell books that we can make a few bucks. Making an article around the bookstore is the right solution. He hemmed and hawed and told his vision. Jiang Jun listened and nodded in agreement. What you said is good. Let's do it like this. However, I'm afraid it won't work if we only rely on the two of us. It's also time to recruit some manpower. Also, the decoration piece, a little to find a good company to talk about. This you rest assured. I Su Lang or some face. Guarantee to pay the least expense. Get the best results. However, the hurdle of recruiting personnel, still have to let Xiao Fan gatekeeper. Although he is willing to decentralize, we also have to be a bit eye-catching. Su Lang's suggestion caused Jiang Jun to nod his head, thinking that he had a good point. Good. Go invite the boss to host this recruitment. You help contact the decoration company. In addition, since it's a bookstore, you contact Zhang Yang, just to take advantage of the online store resources he has. Jiang Jun and Su Lang received Xiao Fan's decentralization, and while they were grateful, they were both inspired to do something. Xiao Fan did not know anything about the two's decisions. Decentralizing the power of the bookstore was Xiao Fan letting them toss and turn, and with Su Lang as a money-losing professional around, the bookstore would just wait to lose money. Therefore, the two submitted the planning book. Xiao Fan looked good, did not even see. Directly approved through the funds on the account of a sum of money to reduce. Xiao Fan the whole person happy on the eyebrows. Sure enough, this is the life that a big boss should have. Taking a cozy bite of an apple, Xiao Fan sighed as he paralyzed on the bed. Doing business on his own is not as comfortable as moving his mouth and directing his men to come and do it. It was not until Jiang Jun called and explained his intentions that Xiao Fan became interested. Oh, asking me to preside over the recruitment. This is interesting. Then go and take a look. Xiao Fan rolled up from his bed in a single bound and took a taxi to the bookstore store location. Although he couldn't take system funds to spend, he had several thousand of personal funds, and with one luxury, Xiao Fan could still afford it. Well, this place is desolate enough. I like it. Through the car window, Xiao Fan saw the sparse appearance of pedestrians along the road and was satisfied in his heart. With such conditions, it would be a hell if the bookstore could make money. When he arrived at the entrance of the bookstore, Jiang Jun and Su Lang were waiting outside, and their faces were happy to see Xiao Fan. Boss, please. The sound of boss made Xiao Fan feel comfortable all over. I'm afraid this was the reason why everyone was quite the leader. Well, you guys did a good job. I'm very satisfied. Xiao Fan praised the two with a smile. Jiang Jun and the others were overjoyed at the words, feeling that all the hard work over this period of time was worth it. Thank you boss for the compliment. Please come in. Xiao Fan followed the two into the courtyard, and with a glance, his face was a little odd, only to see that in the courtyard, a dozen or so fences had been spaced up, and there were people inside who were decorating. Seeing Xiao Fan's curiosity, Jiang Jun smiled and said, Boss, this is the decoration company Su Lang contacted and is remodeling the environment here according to Su Lang's instructions. Xiao Fan was relieved to hear that it was Su Lang's idea. Very well, just follow Su Lang's idea. Xiao Fan had also asked Ms. Hua about Su Lang's situation. According to her, Su Lang's business situation was miserable. Can you imagine that just the job of renting out houses and collecting rent on a monthly basis, Su Lang was able to make a loss? Therefore, Xiao Fan absolutely supported Su Lang's idea. Su Lang sniffed, his face reddened with excitement, finally encountering a boss who trusted him completely. This made him new waves surging. Xiao Fan, don't worry, I definitely won't miss this time. Seeing Su Lang look like he was pumped up, Xiao Fan was secretly pleased with himself. It seemed that he was still very good at enlisting his subordinates. After being self-indulgent for a while, Xiao Fan lifted his steps and went to the bookstore in the back. There were a few desks in the bookstore, which were covered with red cloth. Behind the desks were 3 chairs. The one in the center should be Xiao Fan's seat. The one in the center should be Xiao Fan's seat. On the opposite side was a chair, which was the seat for the applicants. After Xiao Fan and the others sat down, Jiang Jun rushed aside to temporarily hire staff and said, Let the applicants come in order. The staffs went out to convey Xiao Fan. They waited quietly. Swinging into an offer made Xiao Fan excited. He had long heard his seniors talk about the horrible offer, and today Xiao Fan also experienced one. The first person to come in was a short-haired woman who walked with a steady pace and looked heroic. Hello teachers, my name is Xiang Bing. This is my resume. Jiang Jun nodded and asked her to sit down before looking down at her resume. A frown ensued. You graduated from a junior college? Yes. Well, your education is a bit low, and you also studied painting. This doesn't match our requirements. Ha! Xiang Bing's heart sank when she heard this. She has been looking for a job for several times now. Every time. It's the same argument. Looks like it's hopeless again this time. Xiang Bing got up with some frustration and saluted politely. Trouble the 3 teachers. Farewell. After saying that, she turned around and prepared to leave. Slowly, Xiao Fan's cry of retention caused Xiang Bing to stop and look over in confusion. You are an art student. Besides painting, what else do you know? Xiang Bing's spirit shook as he said confidently. I also know music, piano, classical instruments. I know them all. Xiao Fan nodded at his words and rushed at Jiang Jun and the others. You guys can't always limit yourselves to bookstores. Such special talents must be recruited as well. Jiang Jun and Su Lang glanced at each other and their eyes flashed. Sure enough, the two of them had guessed correctly that Xiao Fan had his own ideas in choosing this place. Yes, boss. Over there? Xiang Bing felt a little surprised. Listening to Xiao Fan's tone, it seemed like he had been accepted. Your guess is good. You can come over to work tomorrow. As for the salary, just follow the highest standard. Thank you boss. Xiang Bing was overjoyed and thanked her profusely. Her school was only a junior college, and although she was very talented in painting and music, finding a job after graduation was still delayed by her education. She was really out of options, so she came over to participate in a bookstore's recruitment. I did not expect to really be accepted. Or the highest standard salary, a full 6,000 it. Xiang Bing is very satisfied with this treatment. Xiao Fan is even more satisfied. Recruiting a few employees who are not related to the bookstore is also considered his double insurance. Chapter 19, The Bane of the Pool Fish. Next, the applicant who came in this time used to be the store manager of a big bookstore. He was full of vigor and confidence. It was just a small bookstore, and in his mind, if he stepped in, he would definitely be able to take the position of store manager. After his impassioned self-introduction, Xiao Fan showed a lack of interest. Just kidding. What was the point of finding such an experienced bookstore manager? To make money? For Xiao Fan, who was determined to lose all of his money, such a person resolutely could not be wanted. Seeing that Xiao Fan was not satisfied with this person, Su Lang asked someone to check the bottom of this person's heart. He let Jiang Jun look at the hidden information. Jiang Jun nodded his head in understanding and interrupted this person's Taoist words. Alright, Mr. Wang, we basically understand your situation. Please go back first. We will inform you when we have a decision. Only after this person left, Su Lang rushed Xiao Fan with a face of admiration and exclaimed, Boss, I didn't expect you to be so well informed, knowing that this person is dishonest. The reason why he left the original bookstore is that this person embezzled the store's payments. We resolutely cannot have such a person. Jiang Jun also looked at Xiao Fan with a face of admiration, thinking that Xiao Fan had long ago gotten to the bottom of these job applicants. Xiao Fan was confused for a moment when he heard this. He simply just didn't want to give the bookstore a chance to make a profit. How could he know that there was such an inside story? Corruption? Corruption is good. If he had known that this person had this hobby, he would have hired him a long time ago. Now that the people were gone, Xiao Fan could only sigh in pity and feel at ease with the compliments from the two men. The next recruitment, completely into Xiao Fan's one word, recruiting a few people, and bookstore operations completely unrelated. There is a little fat man, nothing will play cards and chess, or he practiced on the QQ game. Another person, listened to a lot of Shan Tianfeng's commentary, self-taught storytelling, imitation of the perfect. Anyway, as long as with the operation of the bookstore does not touch, can have a skill, Xiao Fan are collected. Recruitment came to an end. Xiao Fan had a hard time being a leader, and by the way, added another insurance policy to his plan of losing money. Alright, the rest of the work, it's up to you guys, nothing else, I'll leave first. Saying a word to the two, Xiao Fan left with a satisfied heart. After Xiao Fan left, Jiang Jun looked at Su Lang with admiration. Mr. Su, your guess is really accurate. Look at the employees that the boss picked today, and you did the planning. It matches perfectly. It's really awesome. Su Lang was full of complacency, but his mouth was very modest. Mr. Jiang is polite. I'm just guessing out Boss Xiao's intentions. The boss is the one who's really great. Next, it's up to us how to run the business. Meanwhile, the books that Xiao Fan asked the bookstore manager to deliver arrived, and after Zhang Yang and the others counted them, part of them were sent to the newly opened bookstore, and the rest, the titles were directly put up on the online store. The news of the online bookstore update alarmed some of the frequent netizens. The crowd couldn't wait to open it and were somewhat dumbfounded. The postpartum treatment of pregnant women, the 108 precautions for fetal education, on the influence of music on the fetus, all books related to pregnant women. Is this damn bookstore planning to turn into a website for women and children? Why is it full of books on baby care and pregnant women? The crowd couldn't help but spit it out repeatedly. But what they were more interested in was the bet between the two netizens. Nothing to do. Just playing at Tiny Rich Kid. Bro, you seem to have lost. How about admitting defeat? Little Rich second generation, okay? We are men of words. These books, this young master all bought. Tycoon, you're so cool. I want to have a good time. Handsome man, begging to be adopted. After the little rich kid placed his order, he left a message. Bro, one more hand, or guess their reaction. Good, I guess they'll hurry up and make up the book. Then of course I don't agree. How about this bet? A store. For this website? Good, it's a deal. Zhang Yang and the others didn't know what happened to the online store. They were helpless in their hearts when they uploaded it. It was full of books related to pregnant women, and presumably, not many people would buy them. So, after putting up the list of books, Zhang Yang and the others all went to the study room to review their homework. Although a few of them were a bit of a jerk, failing a class was still something to be avoided. After all, it was about the graduation certificate, so it was always right to be careful. The transaction information from the website was transmitted to Xiao Fan's cell phone. Ding! Store owner, I love to lose money. Your books on the shelves have been sold with a gain of 315 yuan amount. Please check. Xiao Fan's gaze condensed and his complexion was unsightly. Subconsciously, he glanced at the system page. Host, Xiao Fan. Disposable amount, 167,000. Net profit, 16,315. Settlement time, 2 months and 12 days later. That's over $10,000 undercharged? What the hell is going on? Xiao Fan, who was confused, opened the online bookstore's message to take a look and instantly understood what had happened. So it's the two rich kids having fun. What an abomination. Making me under income by more than $10,000. Raising his hand, wanting to curse a few times. In the end, Xiao Fan held back. After all, it was his own customer. So if he could endure it, he could endure it. Ding dong, online store owner. This time it's me who lost. A store under my name. It's you. A look at the name. Is a netizen nothing to do? Is to play. Anxious to turn over the message. Found to be a network bookstore in half an hour. Did not shelve new things. Netizens nothing to do. Is to play lost. Xiao Fan did not dare to be slow. Hastily refused. Joking. A store. Worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Xiao Fan if you accept. This time, he is not doing nothing. It was only after good words that the two more competitive netizens withdrew their bets. Boss, you're a good person. Let's do it this way. You shelve some books. I'll take them all. The losing netizen, seeing that Xiao Fan excused himself from the stores he gave away, was overjoyed and was ready to compensate in a different way. Seeing that he couldn't push back, Xiao Fan casually put a book title on the table and gave it to the shelves. It was bought in seconds over there. It was easy to push back the gains sent to the door, and hitched up another $10 or so. Xiao Fan hurriedly left a message, prohibiting the acceptance of such bets in the future. In addition, the number of books that a single person could purchase per day was set to 10. Only then did Xiao Fan breathe a sigh of relief. He just wanted to lose some money. Why was it so difficult? With Xiao Fan's timely handling, the vast majority of the losses were finally preserved. After Zhang Yang and the others came back, Xiao Fan gave some righteous instructions. We are a regular company. We can't get involved with gambling. Zhang Yang and the others sniffed, nodded their heads in acceptance, and published the instructions. It was a very small matter, but some of the local newspapers still published the news. The generously operated bookstore was thoroughly famous in Juku City. Afterwards, although there were no more clearance purchases, the volume of transactions was equally high. Xiao Fan watched as the corners of his eyes twitched, but there was nothing he could do about it. As an asset recognized by the system, Xiao Fan could not cancel it directly. Chapter 20 Friends of the Staff. It was just that whenever he heard the profitability cue, Xiao Fan would always have a dark face. Turning off the prompt made it much better. This online store could not be counted on, and the rest would all depend on the bookstore side. Knowing that it was impossible for him to get $600,000, Xiao Fan could only grasp the big and let go of the small, making sure that the biggest business lost money. 10 days later, the bookstore was renovated and officially started business. Although some of Su Lang's ideas seemed very novel, Xiao Fan was not worried. After all, it is located in the middle of nowhere, and if you decorate it well, someone has to consume it. After the incident with the online store, Xiao Fan often ran to the bookstore, fearing an accident. When he arrived at the bookstore, Zhang Jun greeted him with a sad face. They had originally planned to build a comprehensive leisure center around the bookstore, creating a quiet, relaxing place for the retirees here. But this bookstore was newly opened and had no reputation. Once the people here saw that it was a bookstore, they had no desire to stroll around. And even if Zhang Junyi personally explained it, no one was willing to come. Seeing Xiao Fan looking left and right, Zhang Jun apologized with a face full of shame. Boss, I'm sorry, I let you down. He thought that Xiao Fan noticed that there weren't many guests and got angry. Actually, Xiao Fan was happy in his heart. No guests is good. Xiao Fan couldn't wait to clap his hands. Cough cough, Zhang Jun don't be so discouraged. Now is just the beginning. I believe it will get better in the future. Xiao Fan's comfort in turn made Zhang Jun even more ashamed. On the contrary, it was Su Lang who was not anxious at all. Old Jiang, the boss is right. Don't be anxious. What? Do you have a solution? Not for now. Zhang Jun gasped and leaned backwards. No, you say a hammer. Okay, Zhang Jun, you have to learn like Su Lang. There are always more difficulties than solutions. Xiao Fan cheerfully advised Zhang Jun. Go, let's go in. Introduce me to the situation. Without waiting for Zhang Jun to say more, Xiao Fan pulled him into the courtyard. Good day, boss. Xiang Bing and the others learned that Xiao Fan had come and spontaneously surged forward. Hello guys. Xiao Fan greeted them cordially. HM? Xiao Fan was just about to move forward when he stepped back again, his eyes staring straight at Xiang Bing, causing her to blush. Why is the boss looking at people like this? It's weirdly shy. Xiang Bing was a little flustered in her heart. Is it that you haven't drawn your makeup? Xiao Fan nodded his lips. Xiang Bing froze at his words, and the others were also a bit confused. They all thought that there was something wrong with Xiang Bing, but it turned out that what Xiao Fan noticed was Xiang Bing's makeup. Ha! Xiang Bing hurriedly took out a small mirror and took a look, pursed his dry lips and whispered, "Boss, I got up late in the morning, and in my haste, I didn't have time to put on my makeup." Xiao Fan sniffed and said with empathy, "Hey, lesbians must sleep enough to be good. So, what I said, in the future, the morning work is delayed by 1 hour, to leave time for lesbians to put on makeup well. But, boss, we go to work at 8:30, already late enough ah?" Jiang Jun sniffed and couldn't help but retort, "Jiang Jun, let me ask you, is it the well-rested employee who is more efficient or is it the listless employee who is more efficient?" Xiao Fan asked Jiang Jun in a serious tone. "This, of course, is the well-rested one? Good, this is not the end. Instead of letting both the company and the employees suffer, why don't you just go to work later?" Jiang Jun sniffed, always feeling that something was wrong, but the boss said it himself, so he couldn't object. "Yes, I'll revise the work routine later." A few employees saw this and whispered, "Hey, I didn't expect our boss to be quite humane, because Xiang Bing got up late. He actually wants to postpone his work hours. I also like to sleep in the morning. This is good. I can sleep enough. The boss is nice." It's still a bit early to say this. Let's see. Some people felt that Xiao Fan was amiable, while others didn't believe him. On the contrary, it was Xiang Bing who froze and her eyes gradually became soft. Previously, she had done odd jobs a few times, and the boss there hated to use the employees as robots. It was also beautifully called Blessing 996, but in reality, they didn't treat their employees as human beings at all. Today, when she met the boss Xiao Fan, she actually noticed that she was wearing no makeup, and she also specifically postponed her work time, which made her feel very good about Xiao Fan for a while. Xiao Fan didn't care about the color of a few people, and asked as he walked, "How was noon arranged?" We have arranged a cafeteria, staff dormitory, and you can take a break after work at noon." Jiang Jun hurriedly replied back when he saw Xiao Fan asking, "Nothing else?" Xiao Fan frowned and asked, "No more. This is not good. Even though our store is small, it has to be aligned with a large international company. We have to create a relaxed working environment for our employees. This way, build a leisure center, and then hire a chef specifically to provide rich and tasty meals to the employees." This, Jiang Jun sniffed a little dumbfounded. "We're a bookstore, not some big company." He couldn't help but spit in his heart, but he was afraid that he didn't grasp Xiao Fan's meaning and hesitated. Is it appropriate? What's inappropriate about this? I still have funds here. You watch and use." Jiang Jun was a little dizzy. He had never seen a store opened like this, coming up to give employee benefits first. After saying this, Xiao Fan toured the bookstore on his own. To be honest, the environment here was very good. Xiao Fan even liked it a little. Jiang Jun was flabbergasted and didn't react. On the contrary, it was Su Lang who had some realization in his eyes. "Alright, old Jiang, don't think about it, just do what Xiao Fan suggested." "Manager Su, did you think of something?" At this time, Jiang Jun couldn't find anyone to ask and subconsciously wanted to hear Su Lang's thoughts. Su Lang let out a light laugh, nodding his head with some color. "Well, I'm thinking that Xiao Fan means for us to rely on our employees to solve our current predicament, right? Don't use the employees as tools. Use them as a source of decision-making. Is that so?" Jiang Jun was still a little confused. "Well, try it and you won't know. Also, Xiao Fan's instructions, take care of it." Patting Jiang Jun's shoulder, Su Lang smiled and caught up with Xiao Fan. As Xiao Fan and the others left, the remaining Xiang Bing and the others looked at Xiao Fan with a gaze filled with reverence. It was the first time they had encountered a boss who was so considerate of his employees. Even those who didn't quite trust Xiao Fan before couldn't help but feel good about him. Everyone has felt it. This boss of ours is paying a lot of attention to us. We can't let the boss down. Xiang Bing's gaze flickered as he rushed at the few people. "Well, what Sister Xiang said is true. Just, what should we do?" The little fatty, Lu Hong, scratched his head and asked with some confusion. The others also looked at Xiang Bing. After spending a short time together, several people felt that Xiang Bing was very much a big sister. Now that they needed to get an idea, they unanimously looked at her. Xiang Bing mused and said confidently, "The store's headache right now is that there are no customers coming. The bookstore has no fame, so let's think about if there is any way." Several people sniffed and opened their brains, thinking extremely fast. Chapter 21, Professor Gu's Experience. It was just that they were all ordinary people with no outstanding connections at all. After thinking hard, they didn't think of any good ways. A trip to the bookstore. Xiao Fan completely let go. On the side of the bookstore, even though Su Lang had gotten up a lot of tricks, due to its fame and location, it did not have much business on weekdays. Looking at the stagnant growth in profits, Xiao Fan was in a good mood. He resumed his rhythm of eating, attending classes, and waiting quietly for the settlement date to arrive. Xiao Fan could wait in peace. But Jiang Jun and Su Lang would not easily admit defeat. They were investment experts who had just jumped ship and wanted to show off their abilities, so how could they allow the new bookstore to be screwed up in their own hands? As for Su Lang, he finally has something that works exactly the way he wants it to, and he won't allow it to fail. The two have thought of all kinds of ways, contacting former colleagues, making new friends, and even go out of their way to personally pull customers. Unfortunately, all have no effect. The two anxious are on fire. A time do not know how to solve the immediate predicament. As for the employees in the bookstore, since the last time Xiao Fan had shown how much he valued his employees and fulfilled the promises he had made at that time one by one, several of them had a sense of belonging to this small bookstore. The situation that the bookstore was facing, they also saw it in their eyes and were anxious in their hearts. Sister Bing, why don't we walk out for a benefit performance? I remember you can play all kinds of musical instruments. And me, I'll be a storyteller. On this day, little fatty Lu Hong found Xiang Bing and told his idea. Xiang Bing sniffed and felt that his idea was good, and after discussing with a few people, he reported it to Su Lang. Su Lang's eyes lit up and he felt that he had some clues. Nodding his head, he said that he could give it a try. Xiang Bing and the others received permission and began to prepare in earnest. The quiet and peaceful old city center of Old Locust Street in the past days suddenly came alive. On both sides of the newly opened bookstore, two high platforms were erected, dozens of meters apart, without interfering with each other. Xiang Bing changed into a usually treasured Chinese dress, mounted the platform, playing the pipa like no one else. As for the little fat man Lu Hong, he slapped the wood and spoke a commentary. The first few days, but also attracted some people, but the audience, just watching a lively, and did not enter the bookstore consumption intention. However, the area around the bookstore was quite lively. Xiao Fan just heard that moment, but also really nervous for a while. But, looking to the system profits and there is no unusual change, he also gradually relaxed. Professor Gu was a bit bored and left the door. He just had a conversation with his old partner. In fact, what a big deal. Just because he just retired, is not very adaptable. As a famous vocal master, he could be considered to have many students. Just a lot of students also has a bad side. This is not, he just retired. He used to teach the accomplished students, on the door to visit, make him exhausted. Under the necessity, he could only bring his old partner, back to the old house, to avoid harassment. Humph, what a long hair and short knowledge. Go back or be annoyed to death. Differences with the old partner. Lies in the old partner. Some want grandchildren. Unable to stand his old partner's nagging, Professor Gu simply went to find his best friend to nag him. Just as he was about to arrive at his friend's house, a faint sound of music reached his ears. Ha! How sensitive he was to music. Just after listening to a few sounds, he could hear that it was someone playing the pipa. The technique is childish, but the foundation is solid. After closing his eyes and listening for a while, and with his fingers self-consciously touching lightly on his thighs, Professor Gu made his judgment. Temporarily extinguishing his thoughts of going to his old friend's house, Professor Gu searched in the direction the music came from. Turning a few street corners, the scene in front of him surprised him a bit. An English girl, with a traditional costume, was playing the pipa with all her heart and soul, while the narrator was a little fat man who was telling a story, with a few shouts of approval coming from time to time. Looking at the red banners raised on the two high platforms, he realized that it was a bookstore's means of soliciting customers. Bookstore? This is a bit strange. A bookstore? Shouldn't it be opened in the downtown neighborhood? Why did it open here? He originally wanted to turn around and leave, but by some strange chance, he stepped into the door of this bookstore called Generous Bookstore. Of course, he admitted that he was somewhat rare with Xiang Bing's talent. How come there's no reception? After taking a few steps, Professor Gu was a bit strange. When one opens the door to do business, shouldn't they be warmly ushered in and sent off? How come no one is here to greet the guests? Taking 2 steps back, he saw the reminder sign at the entrance. It says the rules of this place. There is no reception. Customers are free to come and go. There is a wooden sign at the fork in the road. The place is divided into several categories: music, theater, calligraphy, etc. Everyone can find friends who speak the same language to chat with, and those who like peace and quiet can go to the bookstore in the backyard to read books in peace and quiet. The owner of this place has ideas. On second thought, Professor Gu understood the purpose of this place being so arranged. Not bad, not to mention, with no one following him, Professor Gu felt relaxed. Walking in faithfully, he went in to take a look at each area. These areas were just a pavilion, and the surrounding scenery was well arranged, but it was a pity that there weren't many people in the cold and quiet. Sister Wang, aren't we going up to greet them? Professor Gu's actions, of course, also attracted the attention of the store clerks, but in the way of Su Lang's instructions, they can only watch from afar, cannot disturb the guests, unless the guest greeted. No, you guys just follow what you usually learn. Don't bother. However, it's almost noon. Remember to send him some dim sum snacks. The employee named Sister Wang instructed a few people to keep an eye on it personally. She had a feeling that if she got it right this time, maybe the doorway to the bookstore would open up. After strolling around for a while, Professor Gu was a bit tired, so he rested here in the bookstore at the back, reading quietly in the meantime. The idleness of it all. It instantly mesmerized him into it. Goo goo. The rumbling sound of his stomach brought him to his senses. Turning his head, he realized that he had put down a lunchbox, a purple clay pot, and a tea set beside him at some point. Opening the lunchbox, an aroma of food came to his nose, causing Professor Gu's appetite to widen. Honestly and nonchalantly finished eating the food, poured a cup of fragrant tea. Professor Gu cozy taste up. It wasn't until he finished the entire pot of tea that a staff member, carrying a fresh pot of tea, came over to clean up. Professor Gu did not disturb, quietly watching her clean up, before leisurely out, walked to the front door, saw a collection box, above the pressure of a note, labeled all kinds of collection details and total amount. Since the beginning, no one came out to disturb themselves. Professor Gu lost a smile to himself, satisfied with the code payment. Although he was old, he was also catching up with the fashion, and his smartphone was playing very skillfully. After leaving the door, he glanced at Xiang Bing, who was selling his performance, and did not go to find his old friend, so he went straight back home. Chapter 22, Adoption of an Apprentice Rejected. Only, his long and used circle of friends, there was a change. Today went to a bookstore. Feel quite interesting, free to go together tomorrow. Quite a few of his old friends, also retired at home, idle. This circle of friends karma just released. Someone left a message. Old Gu, I said how come you didn't come to my house today? The original alone to enjoy going is that place really as good as it says? Old Wang, you still don't understand Lao Gu. He's such a picky person. Says it's interesting, then it can't be fake. It's just that I'm bored at home. Let's go together tomorrow. And the people who were concerned about a few old gentlemen, also got on board for a while. Some of them, the media, also thought that they had come to the news and were ready to go along to have a look. At the Dafang bookstore, Sister Wang reported the events of today's reception, as well as Professor Gu's reaction. To Su Lang, she had already submitted more than a dozen such reports, and some of the arrangements had been gradually improved based on the reactions of the guests who had come in to experience it over the past few days. Manager Su, I'm afraid this bookstore will be different tomorrow. Thinking of Professor Gu's satisfied smile today, Sister Wang spoke confidently. Su Lang read over Sister Wang's report, nodding his head while not forgetting to remind, don't be careless, and do what is required tomorrow. Seeing Sister Wang off, Su Lang hemmed and hawed. Whether his own vision would succeed or not could depend on tomorrow. Xiao Fan inexplicably felt a little uneasy, and after carefully thinking back and looking at the system page, he did not find any changes. Could it really be that I'm overly concerned? Thinking of the insurance he had made for the bookstore, Xiao Fan put his heart down again. Early the next morning, Professor Gu got up and went to the generous bookstore just like yesterday. At the entrance of the bookstore, there were several old men gathered around. Professor Gu glanced at the crowd and was a bit surprised. Yo, Old Wang, Old Fong, why are you all here? Smilingly greeting a few old friends, Professor Gu directly inquired. Still, it wasn't you who sent out a friend circle that piqued our interest. That's, Old Gu, this guy loves to be like this. He himself still pretends to be nothing. Old Gu, is this place really as good as you say? Professor Gu smiled smugly and said mysteriously, you guys will know when you follow me in. Professor Gu sold a secret, and directly, he led a few people into the door of the book. Xiao Xia had always been a freelance reporter for several websites. It just so happened that the old bosses of these several websites were Professor Gu's students. On weekdays, the old boss would always let report on some of his own teachers, as a way of repaying the teacher for his teachings back then. Now that Professor Gu has retired, the boss has asked to write some news about Professor Gu. Xiao Xia had been following along, but unfortunately didn't find anything worth reporting on, until today, when he saw Professor Gu and several other well-known professors, arriving at a place together. It appeared mysterious, which made him interested. Raising his head to look at the front door, the words generous bookstore made him a little dumbfounded. What the hell was a bookstore? However, looking at Professor Gu and the others, this bookstore seemed a bit unusual. Clicking and snapping the name of the bookstore, Xiao Xia, with his camera, was ready to enter this bookstore, but was stopped. Watch this, I'm a reporter. Xiao Xia dissatisfiedly flashed his reporter's card, his tone somewhat arrogant. I'm sorry, this gentleman, no photos are allowed inside. Xiao Xia explained several times, and even threatened a few times, but they were all rejected by Sister Wang. Afraid of drawing Professor Gu's attention to them, Xiao Xia could only compromise and surrender her camera. I'd like to see what's inside that's worth you guys being so nervous about. With a disconcerting hum in her heart, Xiao followed closely and also entered the courtyard. When Professor Gu and the others entered the courtyard, several other old men revealed a curious look. Old Gu, you left an interesting message here? What exactly is so interesting? Can you tell us about it? An old gentleman curiously asked at Professor Gu. Ha ha, come with me. I guarantee you guys will like it. After saying this, Professor Gu was the first to walk inside. It was only after walking for a while that someone reacted. How come no one is receiving us? Yeah, I've been to other places where the people were all enthusiastic. How come there's not even anyone to greet us here? Professor Gu smiled at his words and explained proudly. That's the first interesting thing I'm going to explain to you. And that is that from start to finish, no one will come to disturb you, guaranteeing us absolute freedom. Oh, so special. The other few old men all revealed a rare look as they heard this. However, with no one clamoring beside them, they felt their entire being relax. Those of them, they had long since achieved success and were tired of ushering in the life. Now that they were free, they naturally enjoyed it. On the contrary, it was Xiao, who muttered straight in her heart, there isn't even a receptionist. Bad review. Next, is another item. Professor Gu pointed to the sign on the side of the road. There are several places to go split up here. When the time comes, people with the same preferences, come together. I believe it's very interesting. A few old men looked at the sign that said Music Subdivision, and went forward to take a look. Seeing that it was a small pavilion with all kinds of musical instruments prepared inside, they immediately understood the purpose of such a division. Next, they visited a few other places separately, as well as the bookstore for those who wanted to be quiet in the backyard, where they could read books. Not bad. When you want to relax in the future, you can find a few friends to come over and play. Professor Gu took a few old friends and experienced the arrangements here one by one, feeling very satisfied. By the way, do you have a people-playing girl here? During lunch, Professor Gu stopped Sister Wang and asked straight away. Sister Wang hesitated and nodded. There is such a one. Please call her over. Sister Wang told Su Lang about this, and Su Lang found Xiang Bing and asked her to go over and take a look. Xiang Bing was confused and followed Sister Wang to the place where Professor Gu and the others were resting. Can you play a song? Seeing Xiang Bing, Professor Gu directly asked. Although Xiang Bing did not understand, he still nodded his head. Yes. After saying this, she confidently plucked the pipa a few times and played skillfully. How is it? Professor Gu asked at the few people around him. The few old men nodded their heads, although they weren't too good at vagueness, but good or bad, they could still hear it. When the song ended, Professor Gu smiled and asked, who did you learn music from? Xiang Bing answered truthfully. Professor Gu and the others were speechless. They were certainly surprised that a college graduate could actually practice such solid basic skills. This also shows that Xiang Bing's talent is powerful. Professor Gu was in love with his talent for a while. Do you want to be my student? I'll teach you music. Little girl, hurry up and say yes. Old Gu rarely accepts disciples. Several other people persuaded each other. Xiang Bing also saw that Professor Gu came from a very big place. However, after thinking about it, she still shook her head. No, I have to ask the boss before I do. Chapter 23, Helping You Out. A few people froze at once. It was the first time that old Gu had been rejected when he took on an apprentice. Aren't you going to think about it? Lest you regret it later. Someone gave a word of advice. Although Xiang Bing was a bit moved, she remembered the rules of the bookstore and still refused. Without waiting for others to persuade her, she bowed and saluted, directly retreating. Old Gu, this is the first time I've seen you suffer. This little girl has personality. Professor Gu's friend, laughing and making fun of him, felt amused. Professor Gu rolled his eyes. However, there was no look of anger on his face. The will to take Xiang Bing in was even stronger, and he himself was not one to give in. All of this was seen in Xiao's eyes. He himself had a bad impression of this bookstore, and with Professor Gu's acceptance of his disciple being rejected, his mind turned sharply to the next press release, and he already had some ideas. Professor Gu and the others enjoyed themselves to the fullest. Xia, on the other hand, rushed the press release through the night. The next day, the daily newspaper of Juku City published the news that the employees of the Dafang bookstore had rejected the famous vocal professor. As soon as the news spread, it attracted the attention of many musicians. There was no way around it. It was really Professor Gu's status, which was somewhat high. TSK, this little girl she dares to reject this. I think she just doesn't know what to do. Compared to this, I'm more concerned about how Professor Gu and the others went to a bookstore. Is there something special about this bookstore? To have such an arrogant clerk. I think this store is just that. That's right, just a small bookstore. There were many people who praised Xiang Bing, and others who belittled her. But more people, however, noticed the generous bookstore. A quick search on the internet showed that there was absolutely no information on this bookstore. This made the crowd's interest rise all of a sudden. A bookstore with no reputation could actually attract Professor Gu and several other famous figures to go there, which was an attractive topic in itself. Soon, Su Lang learned of the news, and after calling Xiang Bing over, he asked with some curiosity, "Xiang Bing, I want to ask you, why did you reject Professor Gu?" Xiang Bing thought about it and asked somewhat carefully, "If I agreed to worship the teacher, does that mean I can't work here? I'm very satisfied with my job and don't want to change jobs." Su Lang sniffed and laughed a little. It turned out to be this reason. However, some time ago, Xiao Fan had given his employees improved treatment, and actually made them do this to such an extent. It was really impressive. "Alright, I didn't say that you can't work and learn the art at the same time. Don't worry, the store isn't that insensitive. Right, Xiang Bing? To tell you the truth, the store may want to take this matter of yours to publicize a wave of bookstore. I hope you can promise." Xiang Bing sniffed and agreed without even thinking about it. 2 days ago, she and Lu Hong were still at the door for a charity show. For the sake of, isn't it to raise the popularity of the bookstore? Now that this is just borrowing her name, it's even less of a problem. Good. At the end of the year, the bookstore will compensate you. Xiang Bing agreed. Su Lang was happy and made a direct promise. The news in the newspaper soon reached Xiao Fan's ears. He was originally living his university life leisurely, just waiting for the third settlement date to arrive. He didn't expect that after not paying attention for a while, Su Lang and the others had really made a name for themselves. Spreading out the newspaper and taking a look, Xiao Fan let go of the little worry in his heart. The newspapers in Xiao Fan's hands, all of them, were accusing Xiang Bing, and even the bookstore was also affected by some of them. Some people even called for a common boycott of the generous bookstore, so that the owner of the bookstore do not want to earn a penny. Xiao Fan's eyes lit up when he saw this, expecting him to act. Not making money, of course it's good. Only, Xiao Fan flipped through the pages and there was actually no follow-up. He could not help but curse in his heart. "You damn action do not just shout slogans Skimming his mouth, Xiao Fan casually threw down the newspaper in his hand. Squeak, a door rang. Zhang Yang and the others came in anxiously. "Brother Fan, you've read the newspaper, right?" "Yeah, I read it. What's wrong?" "What else?" "Someone is defaming the bookstore. This will affect the bookstore's business. Why aren't you in a hurry?" Seeing Xiao Fan's old-fashioned appearance, Zhang Yang couldn't help but raise his voice, hoping to get Xiao Fan's attention. Don't be anxious, let's see." Xiao Fan smiled and pacified Zhang Yang, signaling that the situation was not that serious. "It really won't have a big impact?" Zhang Yang was suspicious, not understanding how Xiao Fan was so calm. "Then tell me, how did the outside world affect the bookstore operation?" Zhang Yang pondered for a while, and his heart relaxed quite a bit. The bookstore now sold books, all relying on the online store. "Until now, I haven't heard of the bookstore selling a single book, but the leisure area arranged by Su Lang has sold some food, but the income is not much. Thinking about it this way, it seems like the bookstore being discredited is really no big deal. Understand now? But we can't just let others talk nonsense. Otherwise, the bookstore won't be able to make a profit." When Xiao Fan heard this, it was just what I wanted. "Alright, just leave it to Zhang Jun and the others. I'm sure they can handle this." Only after Xiao Fan's pacification did Zhang Yang and the others put away their worries. However, he was still skeptical about whether Zhang Jun and the others could turn around the bookstore's reputation. Nonsense. Hua Orange's office. She also saw the report on the newspaper. Seeing that there was a slander against the generous bookstore, she slapped the table in anger and cursed out. Her own student, who had opened a bookstore with great difficulty, was vilified as such. How could it not make her angry? However, after venting her temper, Hua Orange looked up and found that the other colleagues in the office were all looking at her with surprised faces, which made her blush and leave the office as if she had fled. Finding Xiao Fan, she greeted him with a burst of comforting words. "Xiao Fan, don't worry, teacher, I'm going to help you get justice. Want to slander your bookstore? They don't want to. Teacher can't. There is still a school in it. Can't let people bully you to go." The more Xiao Fan listened, the more he cried and laughed. He wasn't angry at all. He was even a bit happy. It was just that Hua Orange saw that Xiao Fan didn't say anything. Presumably he was holding back in his heart, and after comforting Xiao Fan with a few words, she set off with her equipment, not even giving Xiao Fan time to react. Hua Orange shot out, so that Xiao Fan's heart straight into muttering, "Don't she once again stir up their plans?" On second thought, he felt that it was unlikely. The bookstore simply did not have any other goods. Want to make money? Difficult. Hua Orange rushed to the bookstore in a hurry, and refreshed her dynamic in the process. "Someone slandered my student's bookstore. I have to help him to clarify. Babies, remember to pay attention." Just after her dynamic was posted, The message board exploded at once. Orange is actually going to pack injustice this time. And I wonder about that bookstore his student opened? He. Orange is playing the role of a chivalrous woman? Really love it. Get lost upstairs. Didn't you read the headline? Our Orange is really passionate. Chapter 24 Oolong. Hua Orange had circled many more little fans after the incident with the old book and the history book. Now that she was stumped like this, she immediately gained a lot of support. Just because she majored in up didn't mean she wouldn't get a live broadcast. Hey, what's going on here? When Hua Orange arrived at Xiao Fan's bookstore, she was baffled by the situation in front of the door, only to see that outside the originally cold bookstore, there was actually a sliver of luxury cars. The people who came down were either rich or noble. The crowd watching the live broadcast was also a bit baffled. Originally, they had come over to see Hua Orange give her own student store a rightful name in a fit of rage, but as a result, you're just going to show us this? After freezing for a while, Hua Orange pulled a staff member and asked what happened here. That staff member proudly smiled and said, "Nothing, it's just that Xiang Bing in our store is going to worship Professor Gu as his teacher." Didn't they say she refused? It was a refusal, but that's because Xiang Bing is worried that she won't be able to continue working here after worshipping the master. And after manager Su explained it, this worshipping certainly went smoothly. Then these people outside are? Hey, it's not because I heard that Professor Gu and the others often appear here, so all these music people rushed over to pay a visit. Hua Orange was speechless, feeling as if she had made a mess. Xiao Fan had been watching the live broadcast and laughed unkindly at Hua Orange's awkward appearance. Just seeing the large crowd outside the bookstore, Xiao Fan was a little uneasy. Only after the staff finished speaking did he lose a smile to himself. These people, the person they are looking for is Professor Gu, not this bookstore of his. Besides, don't look at so many people. It is estimated that there is not a single person who will not buy a book. After thinking about this, Xiao Fan then put down his heart, apologizing to the camera. Hua Orange apologized. "Babies, sorry everyone, I seem to have made a mistake. I'll get off the air here." The crowd was amused by this operation of Hua Orange. This was called, a burst of operation is as fierce as a tiger. At first glance it turns out to be 205. Ha, laughing me to death. Orange, are you planning to make me die of laughter so that you can inherit my legacy? It's the first time I've seen Orange embarrassed. It's just too cute. Orange, don't close it even though you're here. Why don't you simply show us your student's bookstore? Yeah, to be honest, I'm still quite curious about this bookstore. In response to the netizens' constant requests, Hua Orange then smoothly told the crowd about this bookstore. TSK, it's actually opened in the old city center. Orange, that student's the brain of yours doesn't work. Shay, what do you know? Why do you guys think Professor Gu and the others are willing to come to this bookstore? This place must have its special place. Accompanied by the netizens bickering, Hua Orange carried the camera and arrived at the entrance of the bookstore. The camera lifted and the name of the store appeared in the camera. Generous Bookstore? My chow. Isn't this the store that appeared in the newspaper? Is this the store owned by Orange's students? Why does it sound familiar? You forgot. The online store that sells books is also the Generous Bookstore. It's just that I'm a bit strange that this bookstore is called Generous. The netizens debated and couldn't figure it out. Alright, we're going in. When Hua Orange appeared, some of the people waiting outside noticed it. When she was about to go in, these people had a look of disdain on their faces, all thinking that she would be blocked. Can't you see that we've been waiting outside for so long with so many rich people? Hua Orange was oblivious, and with a direct stride, she went in so easily. The people outside rubbed their eyes with a dazed look. Ha, laughed me to death. Those people's reaction just now was too funny. I guess they thought Orange couldn't get in. But what happened? It hit them in the face. The netizens merrily discussed until they got a good look at what was inside. Wow, this is too beautiful. You're telling me this is a bookstore? It can't be a garden, right? That's right. Who would have thought that there would be such a beautiful piece of yard in the old town? Well, have you guys noticed? Orange has been walking for so long, and I haven't seen the receptionist. It's still true. I guess it's understaffed. The netizens had a heated discussion and all had a deep impression of this bookstore. As for Hua Orange, she was sending a message to Su Lang. She saw that the netizens had so many questions that she didn't even know about. So of course she had to find someone in the know. Ding dong. A cell phone message tone sounded, and after Hua Orange looked at it, a smile appeared on her face. Just now someone asked how come there's no reception here. I can tell you guys, that's how they stipulate it. When you enter here, there will never be anyone actively disturbing you. You can be completely at ease. By the way, let me tell you guys something. The bookstore pays very well. The new recruits have a minimum of more than 5,000. There's a lounge, and there's a chef cooking in the dining room, and it's free. Oh, that's Xiang Bing who refused Professor Gu at the beginning. The salary is 8,000. Oh, no. Hua Orange finished this with a smile, and the netizens who were originally laughing and joking were quiet for a moment. Holy, a bookstore is just a bookstore. The initial salary is almost higher than what I've worked for 3 years. I'm even more bitter. The lowest is more than me. I finally know why it's called a generous bookstore. Orange, this student is really generous. Won't he lose money this way? Hua Orange narrowed her eyes and smiled. As far as I know, he made a big profit both times. My Chow, kneeling for Big Brother. Orange, ask Big Brother, is there any hope for me to defect to him now? The crowd was laughing and joking. None of them took this seriously. Hey, arrived at the scene. Unfortunately came too late. It's already over. With Hua Orange's camera, the crowd saw a girl with a heroic face, listening to a few old men talking. Hiss, that's Professor Wang, right? And Professor Wu, both famous artists in our province. Seeing the several old men sitting around over there, some netizens who knew them hissed out. Hua Orange didn't bother them, and walked directly to the back. Although the arrangement at the back was also wonderful, it was still not as shocking as the several masters. Hua Orange's live broadcast was watched by many people. The appearance of the several masters immediately triggered the atmosphere. The Dafang bookstore, too, was instantly circulated among the people, and even the salary of the employees of Dafang bookstore became a hot topic of discussion. Xiao Fan looked at Hua Orange's video with some egg pain, as if as long as Hua Orange appeared, his own industry would not worry about not having a chance to appear in the movie. Fortunately, this time he was smart and opened a physical bookstore. Anyway, it is to sell physical books. I don't believe that someone will run so far and buy a few books. Confirming that the bookstore would not have any accidents, Xiao Fan glanced at the system interface and looked forward to the time passing as early as possible. Settlement time, 5 days. There is less than a week left. This time it will be settled. Although there is some profit, the loss accounts for a large part of it. If nothing changes, Xiao Fan will be able to harvest nearly 500,000 this time. Chapter 25, The Treacherous Su Lang. The truth was indeed as Xiao Fan expected. Although the generous bookstore was in the eyes of the crowd because of Professor Gu and Hua Orange, however, most of the people who went there were there to pay their respects to a few masters. Although the Dafang bookstore provided the location, it really didn't gain much. It was only the crowds that bustled to pay their respects that made the previously quiet Dafang bookstore become noisy. Professor Gu and the others were willing to come here, figuring that it was quiet and free. As the crowd increased, Professor Gu's face became increasingly ugly. Eventually unable to hold back any longer, Professor Gu and the others found Su Lang, stating that they had something to discuss. Su Lang's office. Su Lang listened to Xiang Bing with good grace, as if he was always prepared. Smiling, of course I welcome Professor Gu's visit. With Xiang Bing as the ventilator between the two sides, Professor Gu and the others arrived at Su Lang's place immediately. Su Lang was waiting at the office door early in the morning, and when he saw the few people arrive, a surprised smile appeared on his face. Good day, Professor Gu. Good day to the several masters. Professor Gu and the others were a little bad at opening their mouths when they saw the enthusiastic Su Lang. People were in business, begging for a surfeit of guests, and I'm afraid that today's request from themselves and the others was a bit of an imposition. With such misgivings, Professor Gu and the others reluctantly smiled at Su Lang, and were then warmly invited into the office by Su Lang. After exchanging a glance with Xiang Bing, who had fallen behind, both of them revealed mysterious smiles. After taking their respective seats, Su Lang waited for Professor Gu and the others to open their mouths. Professor Gu's few people were about to speak, wanting to say something, but they were a bit apprehensive. Cough. Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, Su Lang secretly coughed and asked with curiosity, Professor Gu, a few masters, I wonder if you're looking for me today for something? A few of you are also considered regular customers of the bookstore, so if you have something to say, feel free to say it directly. Yes, master. A few masters. Our manager Su is very good at talking. If what he says makes sense, I'm sure he'll consider it solemnly. Next to him, Xiang Bing also chimed in at the right time. With this newly minted disciple of hers helping out, it also had the effect of easing the atmosphere. Sure enough, after the two said this, Professor Gu's and their faces couldn't help but loosen up. Manager Su, what I'm going to say next might make you uncomfortable, but I'm going to say it anyway. Professor Gu seemed to have made up his mind and spoke with a serious expression. Su Lang couldn't help but sit up straight, revealing a look of serious listening. This look of importance on his part made Professor Gu feel more and more overwhelmed in their hearts. A blush surfaced on his face as Professor Gu continued. We like to come here for the sake of enjoying the purity and freedom here. But now, every day is filled with crowds of people coming to visit, causing us to be exhausted. Of course, when someone comes to ask for advice, we don't begrudge them guidance. It's just that there are some people that purely come over to join in the fun, and these people, I hope Manager Su will find a way to be able to minimize them as much as possible. After saying this, Professor Gu and the others dinged Su Lang with a straight face. If Su Lang didn't agree, it was unlikely that they wouldn't come to Generous Bookstore in the future. Su Lang revealed a difficult look and frowned. This, Professor Gu, after all, we are opening our doors to do business. How can we push our guests outside? In that case, we can only take our leave, and we won't come back here to intrude in the future. Seeing that Su Lang was just as they feared, as if he wouldn't agree to their request, Professor Gu and the others were a little disappointed, and spoke out in preparation to leave. Master, Senior, wait first. Just as they revealed their intention to leave, Xiang Bing stopped them, and then urged Su Lang in an unusually earnest manner. Manager Su, my master and the others are really somewhat fond of this place, and that's why they made the request rashly. But my master and the others also have good intentions. After all, the bookstore amount can't receive so many guests here. Moreover, I'm afraid that most of the people who come here are rushing to my master and the masters. Once they leave, I'm afraid that the number of people coming here to the bookstore will also be greatly reduced. Professor Gu and the others listened to Xiang Bing's words, and while they were relieved, they were also a bit smug. See, this is our old Gu's newest student. Not only does he speak reasonably, he also pays attention to maintaining the reputation of his masters and teachers. Professor Gu's gaze towards Xiang Bing became more and more satisfied. After listening to Xiang Bing's persuasion, Su Lang's face showed a torn color, wanting to agree but with some heartache. In the end, he clenched his teeth with a heartache and rushed Professor Gu and the others, arching his hand. Professor Gu, I can agree to your requests. Not waiting for the smiles to bloom on Professor Gu's and their faces, Su Lang followed up with another sentence. However, I also have a request here. You say, restricting guests from entering the bookstore. This can't be in our name. When the time comes, it's inevitable that we'll have to borrow Professor Gu's several names. So if there's any offense, please bear with me. Although Professor Gu and the others didn't figure out how the bookstore could have offended them and the others for a while, Su Lang had already given them face by agreeing. It's fine, Manager Su, you guys let it go. We just want to return to the way it was before. Professor Gu and the others nodded their heads exceptionally dryly, indicating that Su Lang could use their name to get this done. Seeing Professor Gu and the others agree, Su Lang couldn't help but tickle the corners of his mouth, then returned to his previous dejected appearance. Then thank you Professor Gu and all the masters for understanding. We will make the relevant regulations as soon as possible, strictly limiting the number of people entering the bookstore, to ensure that the previous calm is restored. Then, thank you Manager Su. Seeing that their purpose had been achieved, Professor Gu and the others didn't stay much longer and directly bid farewell and left. TSK, this is still something you can do, but I can't do it anyway. A slurping sound came from behind Su Lang, and Zhang Jun looked at Professor Gu and the others who were leaving with an intolerant look on his face. Che, you'd better think about how to bookstore profit. This has been open for more than a month. We can always lose money. Also, don't act like you're so compassionate. You didn't come up with this idea. I'm just the executor. Su Lang skimmed his mouth in disgust. Ha ha, you're right. I don't know if Professor Gu and the others will be angry enough to come back for more when they see our actions tomorrow. Zhang Jun was taunted by Su Lang and did not get angry. He laughed and was a little worried about the reaction of Professor Gu and the others tomorrow. Don't worry, they'll be a little uncomfortable at best. With Xiang Bing around, there won't be any problems. Then we'll see tomorrow. Su Lang and Zhang Jun smiled at each other with a tacit understanding. The two also felt that they were able to complement each other. Zhang Jun, the big picture's very strong, but was somewhat weak in detail handling and flexibility. Su Lang, on the other hand, has a strong executive ability, but sometimes does things a bit recklessly. The two people get along with this period of time. They seem to understand their respective strengths and weaknesses. For Xiao Fan, who put the two together, they were heartily convinced. Chapter 26, The Commotion Caused by the Membership System. Yawn. Xiao Fan, who was lying in the dormitory, sneezed violently. After checking himself suspiciously and muttering a few words, he rolled over and went to look for Duke Zhou's daughter again. Xiang Bing sent his master and his uncles away. Smiles appeared on Professor Gu's face. Old Gu, Manager Su here is not bad. He actually agreed to our request. Well, let's find a chance to repay him a bit in the future. Professor Gu's senses towards Su Lang were very good, and he smiled and chimed in. The corners of Xiang Bing's mouth twitched, remembering Su Lang's treacherous look when he admonished himself yesterday. He always felt a bit out of place. If teacher and the others knew that Su Lang was hitting on them, I'm afraid they wouldn't say anything good about Su Lang anymore. She was also a little hesitant to remind the teachers. After all, she had just arrived, and both her boss Xiao Fan and Su Lang had treated her very well. Moreover, Su Lang doing so wouldn't be a hindrance to teacher and the others, but would instead give the bookstore hope of turning a loss into a profit. Forget it, I'd better not do too much, and see what happens tomorrow. If the teacher is angry, He may have to rely on himself to say something good. Xiang Bing, what are you thinking about? So absorbed? Professor Gu was a bit curious as he looked at his disciple who was lost in thought. Nothing. Xiang Bing panicked and tensed up a bit. Well, you can just send it here. Remember to digest what I taught you today. Professor Gu didn't think much of it, only thinking that she was worried about the bookstore, and patiently admonished her. Xiang Bing looked up and saw that she had already left the door of the bookstore, and the crowd waiting outside were greeting the master and them with eager faces. I remember. Nodding, he watched master and the others leave. Early the next morning, the crowd who arrived before it was too late, found that a new sign was erected at the entrance of the generous bookstore. On it was written the new rules of the bookstore. At the request of Professor Gu and the others, the bookstore will henceforth implement a membership system, and those who are not members will not be allowed to enter the bookstore anymore. Membership is handled as follows. The crowd couldn't help but murmur after reading the requirements for membership processing at a glance. This is too overbearing, isn't it? The membership is handled for at least half a year, and according to the amount of fees paid, enjoying different treatment? It's really crazy to think about money. Yes, this is just a bookstore. Really think we are here for this crap bookstore, and the person with the highest membership fee gets to be next to Professor Gu teaching his students classes? We can ask Professor Gu for advice outside. So who wants to pay for the privilege? Most of the people scoffed at this bookstore's new rules. Only a small portion of them, their eyes lit up, just didn't act immediately, wanting to see the situation before saying anything. Professor Gu is here. With a shout, the crowd at the scene chattered and inquired, Professor Gu, this bookstore is borrowing your name. May I ask for your permission? Also, is there really a chance to sit in on your lectures to students? Professor Gu was confused and didn't understand what the crowd meant. Old Gu, just come and take a look. His old friend pulled him to the sign and pointed down with a bitter smile. Professor Gu looked at it and was somewhat speechless. I said Sue manager yesterday why we need to allow them to borrow our name. Feelings here waiting for us. Professor Gu was first stunned, and then, like his friend, lightly laughed and scolded. I can't say that I'm angry, and it's still my own permission, so I can't blame others for it. As a brick-and-mortar bookstore, wanting to do so without offending the customers, it seemed like this was the only way that was feasible. Professor Gu, is what it says here true? Professor Gu smiled and nodded. Not bad, that's what I mean. Since he had promised the other party, Professor Gu didn't deny it and admitted it outright. He then ignored the crowd, and with a few old friends, he entered the bookstore door on his own. Coax, hearing Professor Gu admit it, the crowd instantly exploded. Some people were simply there to watch the fun, and now that they had to spend money to enter the bookstore, they wouldn't be the wrongdoer, and gradually dispersed. Part of the people, in order to just make friends with Professor Gu and their people, planning some benefits, these people feel that there is nothing cheap to take advantage of, but also directly left. The rest of the people either really wanted Professor Gu's help or wanted to ask for advice. These people didn't hesitate to apply for a membership. $1,000 for an ordinary membership, up to $10,000 a year for a top membership. Of course, there were very few such people. A few people on this side had just finished paying, and Xiao Fan on that side had already received a look at the beep. Looking at the added tens of thousands of profits, Xiao Fan's face darkened. I have added double insurance. Jiang Jun and Su Lang, they actually still managed to make a mess. The bookstore doesn't buy books. What kind of memberships are they engaging in? And they even took advantage of Professor Gu and the others. No, can't wait. With Professor Gu and the others, there might be one after another people coming to apply for membership, which brings in all the pure income. Isn't this a pitfall for me? Xiao Fan spat out in annoyance. Just what method should be used? Cancel it directly? No, Su Lang and the others had promised Professor Gu, limiting the number of people. It didn't seem feasible either. Get it wrong and it might cause a conflict. Then there was only one method left. After figuring out the method, Xiao Fan directly jumped off the bed and hurried to the bookstore. Dafang Bookstore Conference Room. Su Lang and Jiang Jun looked at Xiao Fan at the top in some confusion, not understanding what he was rushing over in a hurry for. I heard that you have implemented a membership system here and asked Professor Gu to endorse it? Xiao Fan glared at the two men, wanting to say to them, just stop tossing and turning and let me lose money in peace, okay? Unfortunately, he was not allowed to reveal the situation of the system, and he could not say this. Otherwise, anyone who heard it would have to scold themselves for being heartless. Jiang Jun and Su Lang saw Xiao Fan glaring at them and smiled sardonically. They thought that Xiao Fan was blaming them for utilizing Professor Gu and the others. Boss, the system is something that Su and I came up with. As for Professor Gu, we have also obtained his consent. We have a cooperative relationship with him. Jiang Jun hemmed and hawed, and while currying favor, he didn't forget to take credit. Xiao Fan looked at Jiang Jun with disdain. When he first met this guy, he was a very arrogant person, but after spending some time with Su Lang, he became so shameless. It really fulfills the old saying, the one who is close to the ink is black. That's not what I'm dissatisfied with. Boss you mean? Jiang Jun's head was filled with doubt, his sparse eyebrows furrowed tightly. The price. I'm talking about the price. Xiao Fan slapped the sign that was originally erected at the gate and said with some hatred. Jiang Jun and Su Lang took a look at the price they had set. It felt very reasonable. Chapter 27, Final Remedy. According to their estimation, that was all the price these people could accept. It was that they didn't know what Xiao Fan meant. Could it be that he disliked them for marking up too much? It's not too much. It's too little. Seeing that the two did not understand, Xiao Fan looked at the two like they were idiots. Professor Gu and the others, how famous are they? For such a small amount of money, you let others follow them to sit in on the lecture. When did the value of an art master become so cheap? The two men sniffed and seemed to be enlightened. Then how much is appropriate to mention? For the most ordinary members, 10,000 a year. And for the top ones, 100,000 a year. Xiao Fan lightly spat out a price. Jiang Jun's eyes popped out, and he asked with some incredulity. So high? Then I'm afraid that amongst the people present today, there aren't many who can afford to buy it. What I want is for them to not be able to afford it. The price you set is low, but many people can buy it, which is low-end in the eyes of outsiders. Professor Gu, are they low-end? Obviously not. They're first-class masters in the province. So, we either don't get one, or we get a high-end one. But, Jiang Jun always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't say. Xiao Fan secretly laughed in his heart. He himself had been racking his brains in order to lose some money. Looking at Jiang Jun's appearance, it was obvious that Xiao Fan was flummoxed. On the contrary, it was Su Lang who had a thoughtful face, reached out and took Jiang Jun's hand and respectfully said, "Boss, don't worry, we will revise it immediately." Xiao Fan nodded in satisfaction. "Well, then I'll go back first." Only when Xiao Fan left did Jiang Jun ask with a puzzled face, "Su Lang, why did you agree so easily? The price the boss asked for is simply outrageous." He. Su Lang laughed when he heard Jiang Jun's gambling words. "Do you think it's our vision that's good? Or is it Xiao Fan's good eye?" Jiang Jun sniffed and said with some discouragement, "Of course it's the boss. In that case, don't you think about the reason why the boss is doing this? Did you think about it? I'm not sure yet, but let's just try it out as the boss intended." Su Lang simply stated what he had to guess. Although Jiang Jun was still skeptical, he also decided to give it a try. Thus, early the next morning, the content on the sign at the main entrance changed again. What? Now for membership, the regular ones are going to be 10,000 a year? Up to 100,000 a year? Why don't you guys go grab it? Someone couldn't help but curse out when they saw the newly changed price. That's right, it's just a Thai bookstore. If it wasn't for Professor Gu, who would want to run here? This owner is too greedy. Isn't this using Professor Gu for profit? No, we have to tell Professor Gu. If I say, why don't we just secretly expose this bookstore? I guess the netizens can curse this store to death. As soon as these words came out, someone really did sneak out a video camera to film it. Outside the crowd, Professor Gu and a few of his old friends looked at each other. Although there were fewer people yesterday, they still felt that it was a bit noisy. They had come over this morning to let Su Lang limit the number of people. Then they knew that they had just arrived and a few eyes saw the scene in front of them. It's probably because the owner of this store had inquired about our preferences, and that's why he made the decision in advance. But this way, won't their income be even less? Aren't we being a bit too selfish? Ahem. The big deal is that we'll just give some gifts to the bookstore's owner, and hopefully he won't mind the chill. Professor Gu coughed and said somewhat sardonically. A few people nodded in agreement, no longer watching the situation unfold, and entered the bookstore on their own. The membership rates were too high, causing the crowd to be furious. However, the few people who had applied for membership on the first day were celebrating at the moment. Luckily, they didn't hesitate. Otherwise, the cost would have been even higher. The day passed quickly. As Jiang Jun had feared, not a single person had applied for membership throughout the day. Xiao Fan looked at the growth of the system's profit. Excluding other factors, the bookstore side had not increased at all. This made Xiao Fan even more satisfied. Taking a look at the 3 days left in the settlement time, Xiao Fan always felt that the days were like years. Hopefully, his approach would work. There were quite a few people present today who took videos and went back and uploaded the videos they took to the internet. There were very few people who paid attention to these videos at first, but this matter itself was highly controversial. And soon, the netizens split into two waves, spraying saliva at each other, with no one being able to convince anyone. I feel it, it's all the fault of Generous Bookhouse. Look, originally free to go in at will, but now you have to pay to go in. This is really, White John Party get lost, which the words of the few people who complained about the bookstore's charges had just fallen. they were scolded back by another person. The people upstairs are just thinking about taking advantage of the situation, but they don't think about the fact that they're doing what Professor Gu and the others told them to do. If you want to consult Professor Gu, don't be afraid to spend money. Since you don't want to spend money, just watch from outside. You guys are talking nonsense. We're targeting the exorbitant membership system. Our Juku City. When did we have such a high level of consumption? Buy or don't buy. People have their prices marked out, and they're not forcing you to buy them. Soon, this discussion spread all over Juku City, and most people felt that the generous bookstore membership fee was too high. But there were also some people who were secretly happy in their hearts. They didn't know about this news at first, and now that they had the opportunity to ask Professor Gu, they wouldn't miss it. However, they wouldn't say it out in public. As a result, it caused everyone to think the generous bookstore had made a bad move. There shouldn't be any people who would apply for membership. Xiao Fan was secretly happy when he saw that the crowd generally disapproved of the Dafang bookstore's charges. That's it, don't come all of you, just park it empty. Taking a look at the settlement time of only 1 day left, Xiao Fan was happy in his heart. Generous bookstore. Zhang Jun and Su Lang looked at the results of the online discussion with ugly faces, and their hearts were also a little shaken. Xiao Fan shouldn't have messed up this time. Don't get to the end and no one comes, then they will be sitting on their asses, outside the bookstore, the crowd watching gloated. Let them be greedy, now it's over. Squeak, an ear-piercing brake sounded, and a luxury sports car stopped in front of the bookstore. From the car came down a fat man covered in name tags. This is where the generous bookstore handles membership? You can consult Professor Gu once you're inside? When he arrived at the entrance, he pulled the bookstore's receptionist and kept asking after him. Yes. Well then, get me a top-tier membership. This is $100,000. Fatty directly dumped a thick pile of money to the receptionist, urging in a loud voice. Good. I'll do it for you. The receptionist was like a chicken blood, and hurriedly helped him with his membership. This fat man didn't stop well and went straight into the gate, going to ask Professor Gu for something to teach him. Chapter 28 Change of Mindset. Hiss, there is really someone to do it. This person shouldn't be stupid. Asking for such a high price is actually willing to handle it. I reckon that Mr. I should just have something urgent to ask Professor Gu. It can only be counted as a special case. Snort. Without waiting for him to say more, several cars, directly parked at the entrance, their owners, one by one, hurried into the bookstore. Next, as if they had discussed it, one after another came over, as if they were afraid of missing out. They scrambled to register as members of the generous bookstore. The people watching were dumbfounded. It was the first time they had encountered such an outrageous thing, and they did not dare to speak for a while. The news reached Zhang Jun and Su Lang's ears, and they were overjoyed. It's still Xiao Fan's vision that sees accurately, holding the hearts of the people to death. Now you know how powerful the boss is. This is also the reason why I am willing to work under him. The two of them were overjoyed. Xiao Fan, who was waiting for the system to settle, was already about to cry. In just half an hour, the profit on the bookstore's side had increased dramatically, quickly turning a loss into a profit, and it kept growing. It's over. Again, let's see how much you can grow. Xiao Fan stared at the system dead on until the settlement time stopped and the system page finally stopped changing. Host, Xiao Fan, disposable funds, 0, net profit, 785,600, personal funds, 16,298, damn it, $600,000 passed him by again. I'd like to see what's going on. I've already defended myself against 1,000 things, and every time I think about it, I still end up losing everything. Xiao Fan secretly gritted his teeth and took a taxi to the bookstore. When Su Lang and the others saw Xiao come, they immediately rushed Xiao Fan with an excited face and introduced the beginning and end. Only then did Xiao Fan figure out the cause and effect. It wasn't that he didn't plan finely, but he had underestimated Professor Gu's influence. Who knew that a retired ordinary professor was still worthy of being courted by so many rich people? Boss, our bookstore has made a profit for the first time. So taking the time, is it a good idea to give the employees benefits once? Zhang Jun took the opportunity and smilingly suggested it. Xiao Fan. You guys see to it. Xiao Fan waved his hand listlessly and then left the office with a face full of displeasure. What's wrong with the boss? Zhang Jun asked with a bewildered face. I guess it's because the revenue didn't reach Xiao Fan's estimation and he's sulking in his heart. Su Lang guessed. Hiss, this is still not satisfied. I think this time almost doubled the earnings. It is already a marvelous success. The success in people's eyes can be different from ours. Xiao Fan slowly walked in the generous bookstore, thinking in his heart about these several investments. The results were often completely different from what he was expecting, which gave him some touches. It really was too much greed. The disposable funds given by the system. Every time he thought of losing them completely, Also all chose a single industry and put all their funds in the same single. Once the profit was made, one lost completely. In that case, next time you can't invest it all together. You have to choose 2 to 3 projects in different industries, even if one project is profitable, but the other 2 are all lost and the amount lost is more than the profit. Then one can receive a large part of the gain. Thinking about the mistakes he had made in the past, Xiao Fan vaguely sent a sigh of relief in his heart. If it was anyone else, 3 times in a row, all of them losing, would be enough to make a person crumble. Xiao Fan was already considered to have tough nerves if he could pull himself out of his frustration. Greetings, boss. Xiang Bing's magnetic voice awakened Xiao Fan. Ha, it's Xiang Bing, why are you here? Xiao Fan forced a smile and greeted her. It's nothing, I went back to help master get something. Oh, then you hurry up and go. Xiao Fan waved his hand to signal Xiang Bing to make himself at home. Remembering that he hadn't met the culprit this time, Professor Gu, he stopped by to take a look. Xiang Bing looked at Xiao Fan's back, his heart filled with gratitude. If it wasn't for Xiao Fan recruiting himself, she wouldn't have been able to run into Professor Gu, much less be recognized by him and taken in as a disciple. Only, the boss didn't seem to be very happy? Xiang Bing wondered if she had misread the situation. This time, the generous bookstore has turned a loss into a profit in one go, so how can it be considered something to be happy about? Perhaps this profit is not something he can even look at, so he doesn't feel happy either? Shaking his head, he shook off the nonsense in his heart and went directly to get something. Following the path, Xiao Fan came to the area of vocal music. Before he could walk in, he heard Professor Gu's hard voice. All you memorized it. This is how the sound of the second section should be pronounced. It sounded as if he was giving a lecture on vocal music. Xiao Fan didn't interrupt and just listened quietly. When he finished speaking, the few people who had been waiting in place hurriedly surrounded him and scrambled to introduce themselves. Professor Gu, I, from the July Music Company, would like to book a series of soundtracks. I hope you can agree. And me, we, Enterprise Company, want you to help write a few songs. Xiao Fan was a bit dumbfounded upon hearing this. These people turned out to have come over to make an appointment, and judging by Professor Gu's popularity, I'm afraid that he is also a top-notch master songwriter. No wonder, when his news came online, it attracted so many people. Xiao Fan finally realized the reason that made him fail. Professor Gu said in a flat voice after listening to the requests of several people, you guys know my conditions, whoever can do it, I will work for them. After he finished his words, the surroundings were quiet. After a long time, it was the fat man who came here first who took the lead. Professor Gu, don't make it difficult for us. Who would set up a tape production line now? It's clearly a money-losing business. Our old boss won't approve it. That's right, Professor Gu. Why don't you change the terms? We're just running the business. We don't have any real power. We can't make the decision on this. Professor Gu sniffed and grunted. Since you guys can't make the decision, then don't say anything more. Please go back. Hey, although Fatty and the others had known the outcome for a long time, they still held a ray of hope and didn't really leave. They just made way for Professor Gu to teach his students, and the few of them stood by the side and waited. This brother please. I don't know what conditions Professor Gu was referring to just now. Xiao Fan saw that the fat man from before was close to him, so he gave a low greeting and rushed to him to ask about the conditions that Professor Gu had mentioned. The fat man sized up Xiao Fan and saw that he did not look like he was in the music business before he explained in a low voice. This matter actually many musicians know about it. Professor Gu used to be a famous music composer. Then because of his work, it seems that something happened to his daughter. Because of that, his daughter has always wished to release her own album. So Professor Gu made this offer. Whoever can help him fulfill his heart's desire, he will help him write 10 songs for free. Chapter 29, Wanting to join a record label. After inquiring, Xiao Fan realized that Professor Gu was also a famous lyricist who had written lyrics that had made several singers famous. No wonder so many people came to visit him after the news of his appearance at Dafang Bookstore spread. Professor Gu made his conditions clear. If you want him to write songs, you can, but you have to fulfill his conditions. The few music company representatives who came were in a difficult position. Records and tapes and the like, by now, had long been eliminated. No one would invest in a new and outdated production line. After all, how much you invest, how much you lose, no matter how much they requested. Professor Gu would never let up, and this was what gave them a headache. Xiao Fan was heartened. He opened a bookstore and thought that he could easily lose money, but Su Lang didn't do anything with the books, and turned his mind to utilizing celebrities, relying on membership fees, and directly turning a loss into a profit, making his intentions fall through. Looking at the profits of the system funds that were still rising, Xiao Fan's heart was a little anxious. Can't stop. He must find a project that can make him lose money as soon as possible. Otherwise, according to the current level of profit growth, he can't think of making money from the system. Subconsciously glancing at the system page, Xiao Fan's heart was happy. Refresh, the page was refreshed. Just seeing his earnings, Xiao Fan's face darkened. Host, Xiao Fan. Discretionary funds, 1 million. Personal funds, 16,298. Settlement time, 3 months later. His own ass spent all 600,000 and invested in a bookstore. And as a result, not only did he not lose any money, but now his profits are still rising in a steady stream. This is all net profit. According to the system to give the conversion ratio, although he has a lot of profit, but converted into personal funds, that income, let Xiao Fan heartache. Fortunately, after the system is refreshed, it will give a fixed amount of system funds, and if the revenue is not enough, the system will automatically make up for it. The revenue gain from the first 2 investments one after another would be counted into the system funds and become Xiao Fan's disposable funds for his next investment. And in the new period of time, the investment and gain will be calculated and converted into Xiao Fan's personal gain according to the loss and profit. On this side, Xiao Fan was taking stock of his earnings, and Professor Gu's lecture over there was over. The people who rushed to visit Professor Gu had no intention of agreeing to do so even after consulting their respective bosses. Disappointed, Professor Gu waved his hand and prepared to leave. Xiao Fan stepped forward and stopped him. You are? Professor Gu froze, not knowing why the youth in front of him was stopping him. Hello Professor Gu, my name is Xiao Fan. I heard that you want your daughter to release a record album? Professor Gu's spirit was shaken, and after carefully sizing up Xiao Fan, his face was somewhat disappointed. The youth in front of him was plainly dressed and did not look like someone who had money to invest. However, since he asked, Professor Gu still nodded his head. There is such a thing. That was more than 10 years ago. My daughter likes to sing very much. I have written 10 or so songs for her, just before she had the chance to release them. She was. Saying this, Professor Gu's face darkened. His mood was sad. To be honest, I also know that at times like this, records and whatnot have long since become obsolete. But in order to fulfill my daughter's wish, I can only persevere. Professor Gu smiled to himself. These few music companies that came to me today are, to put it mildly, my old clients from before. But they still refused, because they're clear that this matter of investing in records is definitely a money-losing deal. So none of them agreed to my conditions. A money-losing deal. It's good to lose money. If Professor Gu wasn't still around, Xiao Fan would definitely burst out laughing. Before, he was still having a headache of what to invest in, but now this project was not coming. What others were not willing to invest in, Xiao Fan could come and go. After telling the situation of several music companies rejecting his request one by one, and also pointing out that agreeing to his conditions was definitely a money-losing investment, Professor Gu stared straight at Xiao Fan and asked, in such a situation, are you still willing to accept it? Of course, Professor Gu, I agree to your conditions. Xiao Fan did not hesitate and agreed very dryly. Professor Gu's heart was happy when he heard this, but he was a little skeptical that Xiao Fan had the ability to do so. Xiao Fan saw Professor Gu's look and saw that he was skeptical now. He couldn't help but reach out and circle his hand and said, this bookstore is what I invested in. Professor Gu doesn't need to doubt my financial strength. It happened that at this time, Su Lang came to find Xiao Fan to discuss the bookstore's next development plan. Boss, Professor Gu, what are you guys? Just as he arrived, Su Lang saw the two of them, Xiao Fan and Professor Gu, wide-eyed and curious, and asked out. Professor Gu saw that it was Su Lang and asked eagerly, Manager Su, this gentleman said that he is the owner of your bookstore. Is this true? Su Lang glanced at Xiao Fan. Although he didn't know what Xiao Fan was up to, but supporting his boss, he still understood. Smiling, he nodded and affirmed, Professor Gu, this is the owner of our bookstore, Mr. Xiao Fan Xiao. Professor Gu, believe it now? Xiao Fan asked smilingly. Boss Xiao, what you just said, does it count? Professor Gu nodded his head repeatedly, then somewhat apprehensively asked at Xiao Fan. Of course, I won't go back on what I promised. Good, as long as you can help me fulfill this wish, my conditions will remain the same. I will write 10 songs for you for free. Professor Gu was overjoyed at his words and directly spoke his conditions. Good, then it's a deal. The more Su Lang heard, the more he felt bad, and after associating the conversation between the two, he instantly and eagerly pulled Xiao Fan to avoid Professor Gu and asked, Xiao Fan, you won't agree to Professor Gu's conditions, right? Professor Gu matter. Su Lang had also heard about it, and apart from sighing a little, he wouldn't do anything about it. After all, even if he was a self-proclaimed management genius, he would not think that he would be able to make profit from such outdated things. That was why, when he heard that Xiao Fan was going to take over this condition that was destined to lose money, he was in a hurry and intended to stop it. Don't worry, I have a number in my heart. Looking at Su Lang's eager appearance, he knew that he didn't look favorably on his choice either, but losing money wasn't that exactly what one's choice was? You don't believe in my vision anymore? The first few times, the projects that Xiao Fan invested in were all big profits, making Su Lang and the others somewhat blindly worship Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan also wanted to utilize this to convince Su Lang. No, Xiao Fan. I don't see the slightest possibility of making a profit on this. Su Lang's neck stiffened as he shook his head and refused. It's not a matter of believing or not, but it's simply impossible to make a profit. Xiao Fan spoke well, but Su Lang did not recognize it. The argument between the two drew Professor Gu's attention, and after listening to a few sentences, he sighed with a dark expression. AI, Boss Xiao, if it's really difficult, it's better to forget about this. Xiao